Chase at Dover. Race 3 of the Chase, our telecast today presented by GoDaddy.com. A 71-degree afternoon as the cars begin rolling from the pit lane out onto the Monster Mile. Dover is the home track for the Truex family, and they've enjoyed success here. Martin Jr. won twice in the NASCAR Nationwide Series and scored his first and thus far only Sprint Cup win, that in 2007. Younger brother Ryan clinched the K&N East Series championship at this track in 2010 and scored his thus far best career Nationwide Series finish here, a second this past June. Martin Truex Jr. is our ESPN in-race reporter today, starting third at his home track, DJ.
Martin, I know you and your race team are very excited about being a part of the chase, but that being said, the pressures of being in the chase, trying to balance getting points, the most points you can for a day, and going after a victory here at a place that I know is very special to you, leads us to our mailbag question from Mike in Sook, British Columbia. He says, after falling behind by 34 points in the first two races of the chase, do you feel you can still catch the likes of Jimmie Johnson and Denny Hamlin?
That's a good question, Dale. I mean, I think, anything's possible. We can't change what's happened already. All we can do is look forward. And we've got 8 racetracks coming up that I feel like we can go to and run very well, have a shot at winning a few. So we're just going to do what we've been doing all year, and that's try to do the best we can each and every week and take it one week at a time. And certainly today is a big day for us. It's been a big week for me and my family and everybody involved with this race team. So it's been a good weekend at the racetrack so far. Our Napa Toyota has been pretty good. I've been happy with it, and just see what today brings, and hopefully we'll have a good day.
Martin, speaking of that family, I know that you had an eye on your younger brother Ryan in the Nationwide race yesterday. Was there anything in watching and listening to that race and then talking to him after the race that might give you some advice and inspiration for today?
Yeah, there's a few things. I think the track was quite a bit different than either one of us anticipated, so I expect that'll be the case today. The sun's out. It hasn't been out all weekend, so things are going to be different, and got a lot of adjustability in this thing. We'll just see if it isn't right. Hopefully Chad will be able to tune it up for me. And we've got a great starting spot. We've got a good pit stall, and it'll be important for us to keep this thing up front all day long if we're going to have a shot at winning.
All right, Martin, we want to wish you great luck in that quest for that victory today. Now, Andy's going to talk to your crew chief, Chad Johnston.
Hey, Chad, Andy Petrie in the booth. This Dover racetrack is kind of unique in that it kind of changes as the day goes on, the way it takes rubber. Explain to me just how that affects the car and how you're going to adjust for it today.
Yeah, Andy, like Martin said, the track's going to be a little bit different than what it has been all weekend with the sun out, so more than likely going to take rubber a little bit quicker. So typically the track will start tight and get looser as the rubber goes down, so we've got a lot of adjustment built into the car, and we'll just keep working on it, try to keep one step ahead of the racetrack and have something for them here at the end.
Okay, Chad. Well, good luck today. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.
Chad Johnston, Martin Truex Jr., our ESPN in-race reporters for today. We've got ESPN high-definition onboard cameras riding with a lot of potential winners, like Brad Keselowski, who's got our Dodge on board.
Good luck, Brad, Paul, everybody. Let's have a good, safe day, do our jobs, and be there at the end. Good luck.
Thank you.
Danica Patrick is carrying the GoDaddy.com camera.
Good to go in there? Good to go.
All right.
Denny Hamlin starting from pole positions. Got the fresh from Florida Gulf Seafood camera. Clint Boyer has got the 5-hour energy on board from the outside of the front row. Matt Kenseth with the Ford EcoBoost camera. And the man who's won as much as anyone has at this track, Jimmie Johnson with the Lowe's on board.
Yeah, we weren't even close. I don't know if their pit road speed yet. Number should be about 3,300, like 3.
Martin Truex Jr. has got the Toyota onboard camera, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. has our Chevrolet on board. And so we get ready to go with the third race in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. A quick review of the championship picture beginning the race. 6 drivers within 15 points and just a single point separating the top 2. Remember, 1 point per position is the basic scoring system. With more on the championship leader, Dr. Jerry Punch.
You know, when asked why this 48 team is almost unbeatable, crew chief Chad Canal said one word, Jimmy. He said, my driver, Jimmie Johnson, has the ability to see the layers and level of rubber as it gets put down. Then he can adjust the car, driving across and through that rubber as the track changes lap after lap. That makes Jimmy special, but also makes him a winner time and again here. Here's Vince Welch.
Most have put a fork in Jeff Gordon's championship hopes, but this 24 team has not quit. They believe they still have an opportunity. Crew Chief Alan Gustafson knows they have to win races. He also knows he's got the cars and the driver to do it. They had one of the best cars here in June. They were leading when a loose wheel cost him a shot at victory, and Alan, they brought the same car here today.
So those some of the stories to watch as we get set to go. The math is simple: 400 laps on the mile track to get the 400 miles. And race number 3 in the chase for the Sprint Cup. Denny Hamlin, the pole sitter, has chosen the outside row. We're set to begin the AAA 400 at Dover. Hamlin leads. Boyer settles into second. It's Sam Hornish Jr. running third with a challenge there from Martin Truex in the 56. On board with Jimmy Johnson. Two-car, Keselowski kicking out wide.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot of that here, especially early on. These race cars, the temperatures are a little higher than what I think these crew chiefs and drivers were anticipating. Even though this concrete is not as temperature sensitive as a lot of the asphalt tracks that we go to, it still changes throughout the day.
Yeah, especially these early laps. You don't see much rubber on the racetrack. That's going to change a lot, and it'll kind of come and go as the race goes on. You'll see it build up big time, and when they put new tires on or have a caution, you'll see some of it kind of pull up off the racetrack. Right now, we don't see much on it.
Challenge here for 5th, Greg Biffle, 16 underneath Truex in the 56.
I think we're going to see a lot of people use that outside lane. I think right now you're just seeing it from the cars that are really not handling that great. I don't think they want to be up there just yet.
And the man, sorry about that, I was just going to say the man on the move in this early going is after another spot again, Kyle Busch in that 18.
Yeah, a lot of people were pointing to Kyle Busch that his car was really good in practice on Friday. Yesterday, all these teams had was 2 laps of qualifying, and so they had to go back to Friday and during those 2 practice sessions that they had for race practice.
See, Brad Keselowski now got back by Jimmy Johnson.
So Keselowski and Johnson in 10th and 11th, and the race for 3rd with Kyle Busch and Sam Hornish Jr. Carl Edwards 99, Matt Kenseth 17, Joey Logano 20. This is 13th, 14th, and 15th.
Well, we've been questioned about the forwards. Carl Edwards not in the chase, but not being able to run well. So we see Johnson take that spot back away from Brad Keselowski. Matt Kenseth seemed to struggle here on Friday. Hasn't been very good the first 2. Greg Biffle, I did see some signs of life kind of from the Ford camp with Biffle in the second practice session. He seemed to be much better than the rest of the Fords.
Kevin Harvick, 29, pressing Keselowski in the 2 for that spot. Harvick running 12th at the moment.
Yeah, I talked to Kevin yesterday. He thought he had a good car. He said the problem was his schedule, the way you do practice. You mentioned that they only practiced on Friday. Didn't really know what to expect after they had to wait basically a couple days to get on the racetrack to race.
I talked to a number of drivers and teams that talked about having good cars, but their problem was that we think we're up against a great car in the 48 car, so we've got to get better than that. Denny Hamlin right now looks pretty great.
Here's Greg Biffle, 16. Slightly different color scheme than you're used to seeing every week. He slides by Sam Hornish Jr. and picks up the 4th position for Biffle. Jeff Gordon right there also. Now Gordon, it was mentioned by Vince just before the start, Gordon had a car capable of winning in the June race here. They let the wheel loose on a green flag pit stop. He had to pit again and then never got the caution flag to get him back in sequence with the rest of the leaders, and he wound up finishing in 13th place. This racetrack, because of that Brad Daugherty illustrated 14-foot drop into the corners, will reveal a flaw on your pit stop faster than about any place else on the circuit.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. This is you really need to execute well at this track.
It'll show up a flaw in the handling of your race car about as quickly too. We'll hear drivers as we get the radio communication today about their car on their landing as it literally falls off into those trees.
I say Denny Hamlin's car landed really well the first 2 laps of this race. I said I wasn't sure about how he was going to run. Right now he's making me a believer.
Flawless so far, I would say, for Denny Hamlin, out in front early at Dover. Early at Dover, which driver do you think will take first out of this week's top 4 qualifiers? Hamlin, Bowyer, Truex Jr., or Hornish Jr.? Text FAST to 34763 or go to AT&TFastestDriver.com to play. You could have a chance to win 4 Gs by playing today's AT&T Fastest Driver Challenge. Every week you have a chance to make your pick and see where you stack up against the rest. Caution free thus far, AAA 400 at Dover. Hamlin leading all the laps after starting on pole. He's got a 2-second lead over second place now Kyle Busch, and Hamlin working into some lap traffic. You see Kyle has gotten by Clint Bowyer in the last several laps.
This is the only car right now that looks anywhere close to as good as his teammate Denny Hamlin. I'm speaking of Kyle Busch, who's moved up to second, but these drivers seem to be able to take their cars, make passes, whether it's lap cars or passing coming to the front, wherever they want to.
Danica Patrick facing a long, difficult day at Dover, going a lap down, just 20 laps in. This is Jimmie Johnson, 48, and Kasey Kahne in the 5. When I talked to people in the garage area this morning, a lot of folks had that 5 car on their lap tracker as somebody consistently fast.
Yeah, I talked to their team, some of the team guys in practice. They were pretty confident that they were going to have a good car. There again, I mean, one of the things about this practice schedule is you just don't know how you're going to be in the race. And I've talked to a lot of crew chiefs, and they were just very apprehensive about how their setup was going to be. Whether even the ones that didn't feel like they were very good felt like the unknown might even make them better. Talked to Steve Letarte. He said he thought that they would run good even though they haven't shown well in practice.
Yep. I talked to a number of drivers from the Nationwide race yesterday that talked about the track was so totally different than what they expected. How about this 5 car, Jamie?
And Kasey Kahne is one of the few that did double duty. He said he learned some things yesterday that will help. And Kenny Francis, his crew chief on the right-hand side of your screen, told me this morning he and Kasey talked and they made some changes for today's race. They snugged it up because they expect it to get very loose, and they're hoping the sun stays out start to finish.
Jamie, so Kasey there giving up a little bit of ground, but hanging in the 9th position.
You know, the thing when you snug one up here, you have to be extremely careful. You don't want to, you can't drive this racetrack fast with a loose race car. But if you get it tightened up and it's only in the center of the corner, that's only going to hurt your speed into and then on the exit of the corner.
Yeah, now I've seen it before. If you have a car that's tight in the center, it'll make you loose or off. And so that can be also a big problem, and it's a kind of confusing way to adjust the car, because sometimes the driver's saying he's really loose when all that changed all that was how it was tight in the middle of the corner, and they're driving it with the throttle like we see Biffle right here off the corner.
I've seen that a few times here early on from Biffle, sliding it off the corner. Don't think that car is exactly to his liking right now, but this 48 seems to be pretty much on schedule with what Jimmie Johnson would want to see in this car at this point in time at the race stop.
Exactly, DJ, and exactly what you and Andy were talking about is Jimmie now goes by, tries to go by, pulls up along Biffle to try to take the 6th spot away. Jimmie says the car is tight in the middle, but about halfway through coming off, he said, when I get in the throttle, it's snappy loose. Jumping in the throttle coming off, they try to get in early, and the car snaps loose on sideways. That's why he can't get up the racetrack and can't get by Biffle right now.
Yeah, that is just one of the things that you fight here, and you just have to keep adjusting on it all day to try to get a good balance there.
Jimmie Johnson running in 7th and trying to get 6th away from Greg Biffle. He'll give it another try here. And got him this time. So Johnson up to 6th position. Just joining us, race 3 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup just underway on a beautiful day in Dover, 72 degrees, great weather conditions. Denny Hamlin starting on pole at a track where in recent times he has greatly struggled. But he won pole position in qualifying yesterday, and he's led all of the laps so far. He has a little less than a 1-second lead on Kyle Busch, who's the runner-up at the moment.
I just saw Denny get against the apron, getting into the corner. You see some of the splitter material actually grinding away.
So far, so good for Denny Hamlin, Dave.
And one of the reasons why, actually 2 reasons why he's better here, Alan. First of all, crew chief Darian Grubb has come with a plan that has really helped this driver race Dover better. But he also said that Denny is now, instead of picking 1 point in time during practice and dwelling on how bad it is, he asked him to actually work through a certain section of their practice. In other words, don't focus on 1 point, just drive through and compromise your car race. So now that he has a more general look at this racetrack, Darian said it has really improved the way he drives here. And obviously being on the pole and leading all these laps, it's showing early.
Yeah, just kind of a continuation of last week. I think he led the last 51. He's got about 30 here so far, so far so good.
Yeah, he's been leading for 7 days and 81 laps.
And you carried the one.
Yeah.
Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Clint Bowyer, Jeff Gordon, Sam Hornish Jr., the top 5. Our telecast from Dover today presented by GoDaddy.com. Inviting you to check out NASCAR.com for all your latest NASCAR information. New leader, Kyle Busch out in front of Denny Hamlin. You can check out NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy to watch coverage live from Dover by following your favorite drivers for free with 8 live camera views. The view from Denny Hamlin now looking ahead at his Joe Gibbs Racing teammate Kyle Busch.
Right here, Kyle Busch's car working really good right on the very bottom. Ran down Denny Hamlin. Didn't have too much trouble getting by.
Yeah, you can see the track a little bit lighter down there on the very bottom. They're not getting that rubber buildup right there yet. I think the left side tire's getting a little bit more grip down there. He's really the only one that's been able to keep his car down there and make a lot of speed here so far.
Dave Burns is covering both of the top 2 cars for us today. Dave?
They talked to their crew chiefs this morning. This 18 car of Kyle Busch, crew chief Dave Rogers said, we're going to loosen it up, tighten it up just a little bit for today's race because we anticipate the track going loose on us. So Kyle's really been able to hustle his race car and pass his teammate. So what's been Denny's problem? A little bit loose. This track is definitely looser than they might have anticipated, so they need to tighten the 11 car up on the first pit stops.
That's been the consensus of everybody I talked to, that the track is going to get looser as the rubber builds up, and that they're planning on tightening their car up as it goes.
So this racetrack being somewhat unique, only a couple of concrete surface racetracks on the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, and you can really tell that rubber buildup by the color of the racing surface. This is the start of the race, and look at the way the color of the banking in the corners is, and how much rubber is down there at the beginning.
Yeah, you can see it's pretty clean right there, and now we can see that it's really 2 groups wide. It's got a lot of rubber on it. At least 2, maybe even 3 groups.
Yeah, and some drivers from yesterday were telling me that that rubber, when it builds up, it's almost like a film that's on the racetrack there, and it gets extremely slick. Although Kyle Busch don't have any problem where he goes right now, can make this thing work anywhere, but it just makes it slicker, so your car gets looser, and it seemed that maybe turns 3 and 4 were a little bit worse than 1 and 2.
Now, a big concern of some of the crew chiefs I talked to this morning is that if we get a cloud cover over the racetrack and the sun isn't directly down on that rubber, then those track conditions may take another turn that may not suit their car's handling, and now they're chasing that all over again.
Yeah, what happens when it's cloudy is it doesn't seem to really build up the rubber, doesn't it? I don't know what causes that, but the sun really enhances that. It almost makes it, like you say, a greasy film on the racetrack when it builds up rubber on the under sunlight.
Yeah, and after we have a caution and get ready for a restart, we'll talk about it once again. But as they ride around at the slower speed, it pulls that rubber back up. We'll see the corners get clean once again, and they have a different racetrack to start on the restart speed.
Yeah, but you know what's funny about that? I've seen that, but it seems like about 5 to 6, 7 laps after a restart, it's back as black as it was all day. I don't know how that works, but that's the way it seems to work here.
Jeff Gordon's working to try and get 3rd place away from Clint Bowyer. Trying different lines.
That higher groove and making a big run off the corner and making a lot of power down the straightaway there.
Got some lap cars going to factor into this race for a couple of laps. Vince?
Jeff Gordon started 7th. He quickly moved into the top 5. Car's not perfect, but not bad.
Over-rotating it when I pick up the throttle next. Just turning so good that I can't touch the throttle.
That's 10-4. 56 on you, 54 on the 18. That's the only other car faster than you. 75 on the 15.
Gordon just radioed that the car is starting to tighten up a little bit, especially getting to the center. Been pretty sporty so far, though.
Yeah, very solid run for Jeff Gordon and a team that has to, as Jeff said, after they had their troubles in the opening race of the chase at Chicagoland, they just have to go for wins in every point they can and see how it all plays out. And I'll add this to the stick a fork in him discussion. Talladega's next week. If you're one of the guys that misses the wreck when a lot of these other guys are in the wreck, you could make up a lot of points quickly.
And I guess you can just maybe then take the fork out. Maybe it's not quite as done as you thought.
I might go with the sport there.
Okay.
Tony Stewart, remember, came into this race a year ago, the championship leader after winning Chicagoland and New Hampshire and struggled so badly. Well, Stewart not having the greatest day again at Dover today.
Balance-wise, it's kind of settled in here. Just a little bit tight in the center. The exit's good. Entry is thick on the free side, but drivable.
22nd place for Tony. That almost sounded like an okay report card on his car.
Yeah, he's lost a lot of time somewhere because he's only within about a second or so of getting lapped. Kyle Busch is coming at him pretty quickly, and see Paul Menard in between them. Paul's the next one that's still in the lead lap.
Tony's had his struggles here at Dover, 21st or worse in the last 4 races. Kyle Busch, charging Dover winner in recent times, and he's out front again today. Kyle Busch out in front at Dover. Caution free so far in the race. Kyle with a lead of 1.3 seconds over Denny Hamlin, who led the opening 34 laps of the event. You take an inside look and get unlimited access to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Brought to you by the NASCAR Sprint Cup mobile app and truly unlimited data on the Sprint Network. Denny has led the most laps so far today. And the fastest lap in the race has been turned by Denny Hamlin. Get unlimited access to NASCAR with live in-car audio and real-time stats on the NASCAR Sprint Cup mobile app only from Sprint. Get the app and Sprint's truly unlimited data plan at sprint.com/speed. It's Kurt Busch just coming back up onto the racetrack from a green flag pit stop, closing in on a window for the leaders to begin hitting the pit lane, and that's probably good news for Martin Truex Jr., who seems to be struggling a good bit. He's fallen all the way back to 14th position after starting 3rd.
I've seen quite a few struggling out here, but probably him as much as anyone, especially of those cars that started up front.
Yes, we're still waiting for Truex.
There he is.
Finally.
We're ready.
Well, that might do it.
Yeah, you don't want a tire to go down, but you hope that there's a cause for what they've been fighting. It looked like this car has been loose from the very start. Doc, what are they saying?
Well, exactly, DJ. Really, those loose entry, loose section, but very tight in the middle. It says so tight, and it's chattering the tires. And Chad Johnson said, we may have started with too much air pressure. We got to come in and lower the air pressure on the left side. Then about 3 laps ago, you heard Martin Truex say, I think I got a tire going down. The chattering has gotten worse. They're trying to wait a couple laps to get in their window. They'll pit within like 3 or 4 laps. Vince.
The 17 of Matt Kenseth. He's one of the chase contenders. It's a 4-tire change, really tight in the middle. Says it's plowing, track bar adjustment, air pressure, and 4 tires with Sunoco fuel for Kenseth. Jamie?
And Kevin Harvick wants his car to be a little bit better. Says it feels like the front tires are floating. No grip at all. They're going to make some adjustments on this car. He asked if they made any changes overnight, and they said absolutely. You see Kyle Busch on the right hand of your screen as Kevin Harvick continues to make his way down pit road. Brought his baby Keelan out on pit road today to debut, he and wife Delana Harvick. As the crew goes to work on the right-hand side, you see the wrench in the back window, track bar adjustment. They're going to tighten him up just a little bit. And the 16, a Greg Biffle just getting onto pit road. Kevin Harvick, it was solid, 12.6, great stop as they work on the right-hand side. The 16, Greg Biffle, 4 tires, fuel, and air pressure. May do a track bar adjustment to try to help this car, but all in all, it's not too bad, Doc.
And Martin Truex finally on pit road. They've already changed right side tires. They'll top it off with Sunoco fuel. Major air pressure change on the left side, lowering the pressure, trying to help the problem.
Still waiting on Kyle Busch, the leader, to come in. Mark Martin's been in and out. Here's Tony Stewart in, Doc.
And you heard Tony Stewart say the car was tight in the center, okay on exit, but 3 on entry. They're going to make an air pressure change for Tony. Trying to help smoke. The car not nearly as bad as he thought it might be here early on, just trying to hang on. Jamie.
And Casey Kane says he's so loose, it feels like his hands are tight trying to saw that wheel. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment as well and wedge adjustment, and they'll fill it up with Sunoco fuel.
Yellow's out. Possum debris, turn 3.
Caution is out. There is debris on the racetrack in turn number 3. And that is going to be an interesting turn of events. It's the front fender.
Yeah, it looks like the 36 is either blown a right front tire or made contact with something.
I was just thinking to myself on that long green run of how good the tires have gotten on these cars that normally end up a long green like this at this place where the loads are so high, as you pointed out, Andy, that you usually see a failure of some kind. But it may come from overuse of brakes getting down to the corner.
Oh yeah, just exploded the right front.
And it kind of looked like he was moving down to come to pit road. Just didn't quite get there soon enough.
A lap late. So caution in the middle of green flag pit stops, always scattering things. Junior's team giving him the word to drive on by so they could stay on the lead lap.
Oh man, pretty violent. Just destroyed that right front fender. I always hate this is one of these tracks where I was always very hesitant to try to make that short stop or come in just a little bit early in that green flag cycle, because that was the time when somebody was going to have a problem. And you see that a lot here.
Now you saw those cars down on the apron of the racetrack. Those are guys who haven't pitted yet, trying to make sure they don't run dry of fuel, being under the caution flag right at the very end of their fuel window.
Yeah, we're running 70 laps, and that's not counting the pace laps, the warm up, and all that. So some of these cars are pretty low on fuel.
Bobby Labonte, 47, the first car that's down on that apron, he's going to get the free pass. So he's got to stay out another lap beyond when the leaders come to pit road in order to be able to take advantage of that. So we'll see.
See Hamlin down there too. And that's the problem with this track is the straightaways are even banked. All that fuel just tries to run away from the pickup.
Yeah, there's 9 degrees of banking on the straightaways.
It's only 6 lead lap cars. 6 guys that hadn't pitted yet. Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Clint Boyer, Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, Brad Keselowski. Now, a lot of the guys that were just on pit road under the green will stay out and take the waiver route and get back on the lead lap here. But they'll be starting behind all these guys that haven't pitted yet.
I'll let you explain that when we get ready to go green again.
Thank you.
It does. It's kind of confusing, but it all works out in the end.
Yeah. And pit road's still closed because of where some of the debris from that 36 car was.
These cars now with the fuel injection have lift pumps in the fuel cell, so they can pick up fuel from different places. They don't just have to get it out of that right rear corner, and they do a pretty good job of getting all the fuel out of the fuel cell.
A number of those cars that had made pit stops that had been on the lead lap but had worked quite a bit down are now 2 laps back. So they take a waiver round. They're only going to get one of those back and be a lap down still.
Yeah, talking about people like Kane and Biffle and Hornish and Martin and so on.
Yeah, and Mark Martin was one of the fastest race cars on the track. He had driven all the way into the top 10.
Yeah, even like Harvick, Truex, Kenseth, all of them. That's going to be a tough break for those cars.
All right, so pit road's going to be opened here. And, yeah, you want to pick up all the metal before the guys go back out on the fresh tires and then run right back through it again. So this will be open for the lead lap cars. And you will see not a great deal of activity on the pit lane.
Not this first time by.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And that's all of them. Vince?
We're going to start with Jeff Gordon. He says it's tight in traffic, but really loose on throttle off the turns. 4 tires and around down on the track bar. Jamie?
Clint Boyer's team was getting nervous about running out of fuel there, but they made it. He's saying he's really loose. They're going to go down a half round on the track bar, 4 tires, and they'll fill it up for Clint Boyer. Dave?
Kyle, the leader, upper right, says, I don't know if I'd touch it yet. Crew chief says, I agree. Sunoco fuel, 4 tires. Denny just below him, running second. It rolled the exact opposite by the end of the run. It's now tight. They'll make a track bar and air pressure adjustment to try to help Hamlin get the first spot back.
that's not going to be any contest. Kyle Busch easily out with the lead. And he'll be the first one behind the pace car when we go back after it. There'll be a whole lot of cars waved around that pace car before the restart. Getting ready for the restart at Dover. A quick reminder, the AAA Insurance NHRA Midwest Finals from St. Louis tonight at 8 Eastern on ESPN2. And the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series next Sunday from Talladega, presented by Pennzoil, 1 Eastern ESPN. No more thrilling racing, no more of a wild card race where this chase is concerned. The next Sunday's Talladega 500 miler.
It'll be exciting once again. I say that now that I'm in the booth.
Yeah, your opinion changed when you came out of that race car, didn't it?
No, it was always fun. It's a great event.
All right, so they've added a lap of caution here to let all the wave around cars that were sent past the pace car a second ago get properly positioned for the restart. So 23 cars took a wave around, but because there were green flag pit stops on a mile track and guys were a certain distance behind Kyle Busch to start with, a lot of guys were 2 laps down at the yellow and are only getting back, we talked about this a second ago, only getting back to 1 lap down with that wave around. Only 2 of the cars are going to come back around to the lead lap. And it looks like they've got a little more of the debris from that 36 car there hung in the fencing. Looks like, I'm even going to, I'll check that because Bobby Labonte got the free pass. Only Carl Edwards, only Carl gets back on the lead lap by taking that wave around right there. Everybody else is just getting back to 1 lap down. So guys like Earnhardt Jr., Newman, Kane, Biffle, Hornich Jr., Martin, Logano, Kenseth, Truex, Harvick, Stewart, Stenhouse, Ambrose, Kurt Busch, Almirola, Menard. They're all a lap down.
Yeah, they're going to be racing hard for that lucky dog spot here, too, for the restart.
And as we get set for the restart, a reminder to stay tuned for NASCAR Nonstop coverage during the second half of today's race, presented today by AT&T. So Kyle Busch is the leader, has chosen the outside lane for the restart. There are only 8 cars on the lead lap. Johnson, 48 inside of Boyer. Not much room between those cars.
That's a really good pass by Jimmie Johnson right there. So hard, especially with all the cars on fresh tires. They're trying to make a run up off the corner. It shows once again how good this car and driver is at this track.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing now is the cream rising to the top. He didn't charge up to the front, but you're seeing that 48 car steadily make his way up there.
We're also seeing Kyle Busch with another really good run here. He had a good run going last week in Loudon also, and we know that they had problems once again.
I'm still real impressed with Denny Hamlin so far. I know we've only run 78 laps, but he really does look solid, and I think he's really on the track to have his best ever race here.
All right, so just 8 cars left on the lead lap after that caution near the end of green flag pit stops. Let's talk about a lot of these guys that got caught out of the sequence and what needs to happen for them to get back into the race right now. Essentially, they need this to run under green just far enough for the leaders to want to pit and then have a caution come out and then have enough fuel left to take the gamble on staying out.
Yeah, they're going to have to gamble and take a wave around at some point. I mean, the good news for a lot of these cars is it's only 80 laps into 400 laps. There's a lot of things that can happen to get them back in it, but I'll tell you, this is not something you want to be doing at this point. If you're the 88 car, Junior, and even Kenseth, Truex, Harvick, all those guys are just going to race like crazy just to get back in the lead lap so they can race for a good finish.
But I think the important perspective is what you said at the beginning of that. It's only 80 laps into a 400-lap race.
Yeah, it is, and it's totally changed the complexion of this race, especially if you're one of those drivers those top 8 that are on the lead lap. You're looking at this race totally different, realizing that you could be a little more at ease with what you have right now in getting a good solid day.
Not quite a quarter of the way into the AAA 400 for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, race 3 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup from Dover International Speedway. Big story of the race so far, a caution that came out at the end of a cycle of green flag pit stops, leaving us just 8 cars on the lead lap and 7 of the 12 championship drivers being trapped a lap down. Still a long way to go, but that's the big story of the race so far. Denny Hamlin led the opening 34 laps. Kyle Busch went by him and has led all of the laps from then until now.
That's like Dale said. He said you got 8 cars on the lead lap, and it makes it a little easier for them, especially at this point in the race. One thing you got to be on defense for, though, is not to go out here and get a little bit complacent with how your car is, because there's going to be a lot more cars in the lead lap by the end of this thing, and you better be working on your car.
Yeah, the problem that these guys are going to have with y'all's discussion a while ago is staying out there longer than the lead, because they've got less fuel right now. So if they get close to a full run, it's not going to work very good for them. They almost need a situation to where they run a halfway deal of 35 to 40 laps. The leaders want to come in and get tires, and they have to take a wave around then and then just hope for a quick caution.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., we saw drive through his pit when the caution came out, and Dave, that's left him back a lap down in 11th.
Yeah, that's what confused his situation as you were trying to score for Junior at home. He was almost in. They said, no, keep going, and he did not pit the first time through. Pitted with the lap down cars, made a wedge adjustment. On the first green flag run, his car mostly late in the corner. As he exited it, the car was 2-3, so they made an adjustment for that.
Junior's in a pretty good position, though. He's faster than Newman. He needs to pass him, and he's got to pass that one car also.
Jamie McMurray in 9th place, being the first car 1 lap down and in position for the free pass. He's a couple ahead of...
Yeah, got to go. Sorry.
Wow. Well, enter now for a chance to win a Dale Earnhardt Jr. personalized Silverado at Texas Motor Speedway race weekend and a meet and greet with Dale Jr. Visit winyourchevy.com now to enter.
Like a man on a mission to me.
Fortunately for Junior, Casey Kane also got by Ryan Newman, so he's got a buffer. So Junior, the second car 1 lap down. Jamie McMurray ahead of him in the 1 car is the first a lap down. And first in the running order is Kyle Busch. We talk about how tricky this track's corners and corner exits are. A little extra tricky there for Ryan Newman in that 39 car.
The Toyota Keys to the Race with NASCAR Sprint Cup team owner and driver Michael Waltrip, brought to you by Toyota.
The Sprint Cup Series is in Dover for race number 29.
Dover is like riding a roller coaster to me as a driver. You don't only come down the straightaway and go into the corner, you come down the straightaway and drop off into the corner. It's a real thrill to run down into those banks. You've got a little wiggle room here because of those banks and the heavy cars and all the speed. It's all about just understanding that you're going to have to make some compromises. If your car isn't working up top, then you better move down to the bottom. So a driver has to be ready to change grooves, change lanes, if you will. Changing lanes might be the key to Dover. Ain't working down low, let's go up high and try it. It's all about speed and just holding the gas down. Really aggressive driving at Dover.
Brought to you by the 2013 Toyota Tacoma.
Just about at the 1/4 mark of this race, just 1 caution so far. Kyle Busch is the leader. Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear from pit lane to victory lane. Every NASCAR driver counts on Goodyear tires. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, 1 and 2, separated by 3/10 of a second. And there you see the gap for yourself.
Yeah, they've got company coming, though. 48 cars reeling them in.
Jimmie Johnson, winner of the June race here. 7 times a Dover winner. The man who's led the most laps in the last 7 straight Dover races. Now this is important. 88 Dale Jr., 5 Casey Kane. They got by Jamie McMurray in the 1, And that's the race to be the first car a lap down. And if the caution comes out, to get the free pass and get back on the lead lap.
Not much Junior could say about that. That 5 car is really good right now.
Yeah, Kasey Kahne was solid throughout that first run. He wasn't the fastest on the start of the race, but held on and was very solid from that point forward. It's great you're still in the top 10, but you really hate that you're a lap down. You're going to need a little bit of help to get yourself back in a position to have a chance for a top 5 or a victory today.
So Kahne is running in 8th position. And now we shift to the race for second as old 5-time tries to get by Denny Hamlin.
Come back company coming. I think this is one of those unwanted visitors at Green General Village.
He's just so good at this racetrack.
Yeah, I found it interesting listening to him a couple of times this week that he talked about his off-road racing experience helping him be so good here. I never thought of it like that, but, you know, I guess there would be something to it because we talk about the landing, especially going down into turn 1 right here, where this racetrack literally falls out from under you. The car has to land, and that's what he did in his off-road stuff. So he's doing a great job, but it's a great analogy, Doc.
Exactly, DJ. He told me we were riding around the track before he got into car. So this is close to getting airborne as we get in NASCAR. And he said, it reminds me so much of the off-road stuff. He also said, you know what? Chad wants us to get in the top 5 and not force the issue. He said, if I can get there and lead, I will. If I can get up front, I don't mind leading the most laps, but I'm not going to overdrive it and force it. They just told him, take care of the tires. If you can get there, fine. If not, just be smart. Big picture, big picture.
Well, Doc, these leaders, including Jimmy, are setting such a fast pace. They really have picked up a lot of lap traffic since that restart all of a sudden.
Yeah, I didn't get to talk to Chad this morning, but I did talk to Steve Letarte. They kind of race out of the same shop, so they do a lot of communicating together. He told me that they basically changed the whole setup in this 48 car after practice and put in what they raced here the last time. So they really hadn't had any practice time on the setup this weekend. Obviously, it's a proven setup. And it's proven itself out today, but I thought that was kind of interesting because a lot of times you learn things during the season where you have some things that would be better, and that's what they were trying to do in practice, but it just wasn't working for them, so they went back to something they knew would work.
Yeah, you could never feel like that these racetracks where you have 2 races, that what worked for you that first time, probably everybody's caught up some, and it's not going to be the best thing, so you're always trying to make sure that you have something that may be a little bit better. In this case, they had to go back to what worked extremely well in June.
Yeah, one thing that makes it work here maybe better than it would at an asphalt track is asphalt tracks kind of change over the seasons and years. This concrete surface really is pretty consistent, and it kind of acts the same race to race and year to year.
As reflected in those numbers, that Jimmy's basically got equal performance from the race that's traditionally run in either late May or early June, and this race that's run at the end of September. Well, Jimmie Johnson, if he wins today, would break a tie with Bobby Allison and Richard Petty for most all-time wins at Dover. That's a pretty good pair to come out on top of.
Coverage of Monday Night Football continues tomorrow. First at 6:30, it's Monday Night Countdown served by Applebee's. Then at 8:30, 2 of the game's most storied franchises go head-to-head. Jay Cutler and the Chicago Bears visit Tony Romo and the Dallas Cowboys. Monday Night Football, Bears-Cowboys tomorrow, 8:30 on ESPN. 114 laps complete here at Dover. Kyle Busch is out front. But if you are wondering why only 7 cars are on the lead lap, this is why. After pit stops began, keep your eye on the 36 of J.J. Yeley.
Oh, yeah, he blows the right front tire, get down in the corner, and just throws stuff all over the racetrack at the wrong time as everybody is making pit stops, key pit stops, and many guys want to lap down because of that.
A lot of aggressive driving out there on behalf of Dale Earnhardt Jr. to try to get back to that lucky dog position.
Yeah, Earnhardt Jr. is really charging as best he can, so he moved Ryan Newman there. But we're also seeing the racetrack get a little bit darker as we go on, starting to rubber up, starting to get a little more grip. It's going to make some interesting racing as we move forward.
Yeah, as well as the sun and clouds, because that darkness is rubber, and we've seen how temperature sensitive this place is.
This particular racetrack, Nicole, changes so big time from the start to the finish because of the concrete surface. You're going to hear us talk about rubbering up throughout the day, and you'll see the racetrack getting blacker and blacker as the day goes on. You notice right now it's kind of a light gray. When this thing's over, those corners will be dead black.
Let's bring in Marty Smith, who is joining us on pit road, about what you at home are talking about during the race. What's the pulse of the fan today?
Well, Nicole, certainly it's what you guys were just discussing, the odd circumstances going on with the last pit stop and how many people it caught a lap down. Of course, one of those now battling for that lucky dog. As you guys noted, Dale Earnhardt Jr., many people discussing that right now on Twitter. I spoke with Earnhardt when we got here this weekend, and he had gotten over some of the dejection that he felt after a subpar performance last weekend in New Hampshire. But he did tell me every single race is critical for us to stay relevant in the chase hunt. He's battling that right now. I know that, Brad, you said you felt like he was finished, but I'd like to pose this question to Rusty. Rusty, when you're out there competing and you've had a great consistent season and you start to wonder if it's slipping away, how does that impact him as a driver mentally?
Well, mentally it's got to bother him, Marty, no doubt about that, but this is a strong team that's got a lot of depth, and they've run good all year long. You got to remember one thing. This team has been one of the most consistent teams all year long. It's kept them up in the points, got them a victory, and they've been real strong. So look, just because they're having one bad race, I wouldn't let that get to them. This guy can really rebound. Today, he can rebound at Talladega, which is one of his favorite racetracks. I wouldn't get down at all. I'd just stay digging and don't give up.
So right now, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and his teammate Kasey Kahne are battling it out within some distance of each other to try to get back onto the lead lap. What's he saying on the radio?
Then we get slick on the right rear, and then the car sucks up and gets comfortable again. It just did that. It just got snug and comfortable probably about 8 laps after the 5 at fast speed.
Right now, they all need to keep their eye on the 99. Carl Edwards is the last driver on the lead lap, but where he is compared to Kyle Busch is only about a straightaway away.
Yes, I totally agree. And Dale Earnhardt Jr., speaking of, I mean, he is working extremely hard. I just think it's going to be difficult for this race team to get back on track. They need to win races, and right now they're fighting for their lives to get back into the hunt.
But, you know, the guy he's racing right now for one lap down is his teammate, Kasey Kahne. And even though he's one lap down, he's been setting some of the consistently fastest laps on the racetrack. If that 5 car can get back on the lead lap, he's actually a challenger to win this race.
Look, guys, I've been in this position a million times, and what you got to do is just stay doing it. Stay communicating to your team. Get ready for that next pit stop to catch up and stay working on the car. Don't give up and don't freak out at this point.
Still a long way to go, 276 laps. There's Kasey Kahne fighting for the lucky dog. Let's see if we can get it. More from Dover in just a second.
In the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup, our telecast from Dover today presented by GoDaddy.com. Kyle Busch leading Denny Hamlin and Jimmie Johnson 1, 2, and 3 in the middle of another long green flag run. Well, I mentioned his name a little bit ago. Jimmie Johnson trying to overtake Bobby Allison and Richard Petty for most all-time wins here at the Monster Mile. I knew he was at the racetrack because I talked to him yesterday, and he walked in the back of the booth. The 1983 champion, 7-time Dover winner, and 4th on NASCAR's all-time win list, Bobby Allison. How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's great to be here.
Now, I mentioned to Bobby a second ago off the air that rascal in the 48's trying to break your record here at Dover. Your answer was?
Well, he may beat my number of wins, but he won't beat my miles because I won 500 miles, 7 of them. And Richard won a 300 miler and a 400 miler. And all of his have been 400 milers. So I'm still ahead of him in miles.
Bobby, talk about the difficulty of 500-mile races here and just how strenuous that was on the driver.
Oh, it was incredible. You know, just you race and race and race and think, man, I can't last another 10 laps, and they'd show the halfway mark.
Don't let him fool you. This is one of the toughest racers I've ever seen, Bobby. That's how I think he won a lot of these Dover races, because those races were so tough. Who do you see out here today that kind of fits that mold of a really tough, physically tough race car driver?
Well, I'll have to say from my standpoint, Kyle Busch, you know, I mean, he's after it all the time, does a heck of a job wherever. Jimmie Johnson really does good. Jimmy is more David Pearson-ish. You know, he seems to use his planning, you know, really work out things to conserve to the right place, the right time, and all that. But all of these present guys are so good. You know, the whole field was qualified, wasn't like about 5 or 6 tenths of a second for this race. The whole 43 cars, and you know, everybody is on top of it. And I'm gonna tell you what, the racing has been good. You know, there's some things about it that a lot of us don't like. Invariably, they drop the green flag, and those guys go out there and do their deal.
Yeah, is that about as close as you've ever come to giving David Pearson a compliment there, what you were saying?
Yeah, probably is. Well, David and I were not friends during our racing deal. In fact, see, I didn't have time to be friends with hardly anybody. David kept to himself, but he and I have become pretty good friends over these retired years. That's pretty neat. And David was one of those guys that did really use his head, really conserved his strength in his car. Race after race, so, you know, halfway through the race, I'd be racing with old Richard Petty, and I'd have wheel marks all over his car, and he'd have wheel marks all over my car, and you know, there we'd go, and there at the end of the race, there's David Pearson standing over there in Victory Lane with that good-looking girl, and here me and Richard out there trying to clean the scuff marks off our car.
So, all right, Bobby, pit road's about to get busy. So great to see you. Our best to Judy, and glad to have you here with us today at Dover.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Bobby.
Yeah.
Bobby Allison, 7-time Dover winner here today, and we're all watching together. Kevin Harvick hit the pit road. Jamie?
One of the many cars that was stuck a lap down. He said his exit is getting better, though. 4 tires, air pressure adjustment is a little bit loose off, and that's what they're going to focus on here as they work on the left-hand side, and the second hand is Sunoco fuel, and he's down.
All right, Jamie, thanks. You see Denny Hamlin, Jimmie Johnson still racing for second place. And a trend that this Dover racing has shown here in the last couple of years now specifically, but that long green flag run that tends to separate out the field a little bit.
Well, it really does separate the field. We see who has race cars that are good or decent handling race cars, and the others that are still struggling and just wanting another opportunity to get to pit road to make some more adjustments.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the 6, Doc.
Making only his second Sprint Cup start of the year, the reigning nationwide champion, driving for Jack Roush and Roush Fenway. Ricky said the car's been tight on throttle from the center up off, making an air pressure change. We're talking about a chassis change here. 4 tires for Ricky, 15.7 down on the way.
Stenhouse Jr. double duty this weekend here at Dover. 200 miles on Saturday and another 400 on Sunday. Joey Logano dominated yesterday's nationwide race. He's into the 20 today, Doc.
Yeah, Bender on exit, he said that 1, 2, 3 tight center. Joey's one of those cars that hit it prior to the yellow coming out, so he had to, was a lap down. Being short of lap down, 4 tires down the way. Spence.
The one of Jamie McMurray says he is way too loose, needs more grip. You saw the pit stop, 4 tires and an air pressure adjustment. Dave. Take a look at the 17 of Matt Kenseth, looser than the last run, in and off, and still tight across the center. Same problem they had before. It's going to be a 4-tire change. Awful tight there. He's very close to the wall. Jamie.
And Casey Kane, you saw him racing Dale Earnhardt Jr., his teammate, to get that lucky dog position. He rolls into his pit box. They told him on lap 132, you're the fastest car out there. 4 tires, fuel, air pressure adjustment for Casey Kane.
Leader is on pit road. Kyle Busch during that run said, I need some rear lateral grip. That's something they call side bite as well. He'll get 4 tires in Sunoco fuel. They'll effect that change with a track bar adjustment. Wrenches in the rear window. They'll take on 4 fresh tires as well. The 11 of Denny Hamlin, his teammate, also on pit road, running second, but not able to make any ground on his teammate. Really tight at the start of this run for Denny. He will also get 4 tires and an adjustment. Vince?
Jeff Gordon in that 24 car, just a little tight through the center. They didn't make any changes is for fresh tires and Sunoco fuel.
Gordon staying out to lead a lap, get a bonus point toward the championship. Clint Boyer stayed out, has just led a lap. Now he's going to come to pit road. Brad Keselowski will stay out and lead a lap. Boyer heading all the way down to the attention of his crew, Jane.
And Clint Boyer saying he's losing rear grip, working a lot with his spotter, telling him where to run on the track, where the guys ahead of him are running to try to get his car faster. 4 tires, air pressure, and a track bar adjustment for the second time today for Clint Boyer. The car's been okay, hasn't been great, but he's kept it on the lead lap.
So Brad Keselowski, the only lead lap car that has not yet pitted in this cycle. And he's not coming in this time either.
Yeah, that may have been because he didn't have room to get down there. Mark Martin, the fresh tire right there. But these drivers in that top 5 or 6 have the luxury of taking some chances, doing some things because there are no other cars on the lead lap here.
Yeah, one of the chances he's taking is just losing a little bit of time for the leaders that pitted earlier. He can stay out a few more laps and hope maybe that caution flies like it did a while ago. But it looks like now he's decided to come to pit road.
One of the trickier pit road entries on the Sprint Cup circuit.
Yeah, very, very difficult. The one thing you don't want to do in this position is speed on pit road and give up that great position that you have on the track.
Going to take a while for Brad to get to his pit stall at 35 miles an hour. He's all the way down at the turn 1 end of the pit road. He's on his way to you, Dave, I promise.
Alan, they always break down the corners so that the crew chief can understand where exactly he's having an issue. For Brad, it is the late exit of the corners. He's losing forward drive on the late exit. That's the last third of the last, maybe the last fifth of the corner. A wedge wrench going in the left rear. They'll get 4 tires, a little slow and trouble on the left side there. They cannot get the jack. The jack is broken, so they're going to replace that. Now they'll jack up the car. Costly stop for the 2 bunch right in the middle of it, having troubles with the jack, Alan.
See if he's even able to stay on the lead lap. That's Kyle Busch you're watching coming at him as Keselowski tries to get up to speed off the pit lane.
Kyle Busch is 3 wide up off of turn 4 there.
Yeah, it looks like he's barely going to stay in front of Kyle. But a lot of ground lost for the 2. Our telecast today from Dover, presented by GoDaddy.com. Kyle Busch leading at Dover today, the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series in race 3 in the chase. Our telecast presented by GoDaddy.com. Not quite to halfway. And Busch one of just 6 drivers that are left on the lead lap. He's trying to put Tony Stewart a 2nd lap down as we take an inside look and get unlimited access to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by the NASCAR Sprint Cup mobile app and truly unlimited data on the Sprint network. Tony Stewart has had the fastest 4-tire pit stop so far in this race. So the struggles of the 14 today, certainly not the fault of the pit crew. Get unlimited access to NASCAR with live in-car audio and real-time stats on the NASCAR Sprint Cup mobile app, only from Sprint. Get the app and Sprint's truly unlimited data plan at sprint.com/speed. So, story of the race again, just joining us. A series of green flag pit stops underway in the 60s lap count, when a caution came out at lap 69 when the 36 car of J.J. Yeley lost the right front tire and blew apart the right front fender all over the racetrack. And that left us just 8 cars on the lead lap at that point. And we've been caution-free since then, not giving many people an opportunity to come back around. Brad Keselowski is the last car on the lead lap, 23 seconds behind leader Kyle Busch, and about 1 ahead of him on the racetrack right there.
Yeah, he lost about probably 12 to 14 seconds of that on that green flag pit stop with the jack that broke. Had to get another one out there. Just a disastrous pit stop.
You know, we've been wondering what kind of speed was in this 2 car. I think we've seen it right now as he came back out knowing he had to stay in front of Kyle Busch there. We've seen him run some of his fastest laps of the day.
Well, he has to now because he needs to try to stay on the lead lap if he can. Now 2 cars handling pretty good today, Dave.
and he stayed positive as well. I did check with the jack man, and yes, it is broken. That jack has been retired for the day. But Brad did not come down on the crew hard, and he just radioed in, best it's been all day. And like you say, that part of that may be he is driving the heck out of it right now.
Well, and another part of it may or may not be a rather thick cloud cover that's just obscured the sun and put these turns of this racetrack in shadow.
Actually, the whole track is on this shadow and kind of shielded from the sun. I think we're going to see that the sun coming in and out most of the day today.
Paul Wolfe, one of the crew chiefs I talked to this morning, who was, I won't say concerned, but intrigued about how that would affect the balance of the race cars on this Monster Mile. Kyle Busch out in front of Denny Hamlin by a second and a third. Kyle has led the most laps today here on the Monster Mile in Dover. A hard, grueling day on man and machine at Dover International Speedway. The Monster Mile exacting its punishment on the cars of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, and the pit crew's doing their best to keep tuning them up and keep them charging along at full speed. Kyle Busch is your race leader. Let's see how our drivers are doing in today's AT&T Fastest Driver Challenge. Out of the top 4 qualifiers, it would be Denny Hamlin, closest to the front of the pack among that group. Remember to text FAST to 34763 to play AT&T's Fastest Driver Challenge, or visit AT&TFastestDriver.com. You could have a chance to win 4 Gs just by playing. Denny Hamlin up front at Dover. What's going on here?
Thanks for making driving at Dover bearable finally. 10-4, buddy, doing an awesome job. Tires, everything look really good.
Dover is a place where it's fair to say Denny Hamlin has struggled. In the 6 chase races he's been in here at Dover.
Oh my.
Yeah. He's not finished well. And when you have a race like that on your radar as you're running through this 10-race championship bid, that's certainly gotta affect you. So now as you watch Denny out on the racetrack in front of the 5-time champ, the guy who's led the most laps in the last 7 Dover races, and the guy who's won 4 of the last 7, that would be Jimmie Johnson. What must that do for Denny's confidence and psyche?
Well, it has to be way up. Normally when he looked in his mirror and saw this 48 car, he was getting ready to get lapped once or again. So he has to be feeling really good. But I will have to say that this happening off the heels of a dominating win last week, this race team has to be sky high, and Denny Hamlin as a driver, that confidence is up there as high as you could possibly get it. And you know, that bodes well in going to a difficult racetrack next week where you have caution.
I think you caught that on the team radio. NASCAR spotting some debris in turn number 3. That conversation between race control and their spotter in the corner had been going on for about 30 seconds.
Well, Brad Keselowski did a great job of literally driving away from Kyle Busch after he came back out, stayed on the lead lap, which means that looks like Carl Edwards will be the beneficiary of the free pass.
Yep.
You're talking about Denny Hamlin. If he can get out of here with a good finish like it looks like he's going to, he's got 9 wins on the 7 tracks that are coming up after this one. So combined, that bodes well for him.
And just to answer that one question that begs at the moment, yes, we know the race isn't halfway over yet. But this has been a strong performance at Dover for Denny Hamlin.
One thing I want you to see here, you can see how these hot tires are picking all that rubber up off of the racing line. That's what we see here quite often. Almost takes it. If they'll run just a couple laps under caution without letting the cars come down pit road, you'll see all of that rubber come up.
That's exactly right. It'll look totally different, kind of like the way we started the race.
Let me ask you this, Andy. Has this run been enough for some of these guys to try and stay out and take a wave around to get back on the lead lap? Guys like Earnhardt Jr. and Kane and Martin and so on?
Well, it just depends on how much you want to roll the dice. I mean, it just looks like one of those green flag days. But you got to do something. They're desperate back here. They're not going to get it back any other way.
Yeah, if I'm Casey Kane, I think I'm coming to pit road. He's got a fast enough race car to get that free pass whenever that comes about again, because there are so few cars on the lead lap.
Back in after just pitting under the green about 30 laps ago, Vince.
Yeah, Jim Gordon's been pretty happy with his race car. You see him upper left-hand portion of your screen, but he said it's just too tight at the start. Then when he got behind traffic, he couldn't do anything. They didn't make any changes last time, but they're going to put around in the right career Jack pole this time for Gordon. None.
And Jimmy Johnson said the car was a little bit snappy loose coming up off. They made an adjustment this time. No changes, 4 tires, and that's all day.
Kyle Busch is going to get 4 tires, no changes as well. Denny Hamlin's been debating, but I lost my TV down here, so I can't see, guys. What'd he do?
He got all 4, Dave. I believe he got all 4.
Yeah, I think everybody got 4 there. They had a great pit stop with Denny Hamlin.
Yep. And that #1 pit stall for winning pole position didn't hurt anything. Maybe he didn't get all 4.
Maybe not.
I saw the jack around the left side of the car, but we'll go to the videotape and confirm here in just a minute. By following your favorite drivers for free with 8 live camera views. Pit crew's been busy down in the pit lane. Nick Sutton, Jack Manford, Landon Cassels carrying over the wall camera today.
All right, we're taking 2 out of the left rear, but the gas is going to do its sweetest to take some tires here. Take tires to the rear. All right, got a pretty good one going here. See if we can finish it. Woo! All right, Daddy's some new shoes and a whopper. Good job, fellas.
And he even got the sponsor plug in. Following up, because there's a lot going on here on this round of caution flags. Denny Hamlin, in fact, did just get the right side tires on that 11 car.
Yeah, I don't understand this at all. Just 6 cars on the lead lap making that stop. Just not sure why they would only got 2.
Unless you're trying to find out something later on in the race or something like that, now might be kind of the time to do that with only 6 cars on the lead lap.
Well, maybe we're getting ready to learn something.
Somebody's going to learn something.
I think we're going to be fine here. We're showing 0 wear on the left side pretty much. So it's just going to be heat things. Just make sure you keep them clean and cool down the best you can.
Instructions to the driver as we get ready to go. 14 wave arounds. Nobody stayed out to take the wave around to get back on the lead lap. All the guys like Kane and Martin and Earnhardt Jr. and so on did pit and take the fresh tires under that yellow. If it was the lead that they were hoping for with the 2-tire car on the 11, didn't last long. Kyle Busch back out in front.
Casey Kane, he had a really good run that last run. Trying to get that free pass.
Matt Kenseth in the 17 is the first car 2 laps down.
And Casey Kane's trying to get away. He's in that free pass position, but Mark Martin in this 55 has been really fast all day long. Casey knows he needs to distance himself a little bit so he can, in case the caution would come out, he could get that benefit of the free pass.
Wow. Martin got behind with that caution flag earlier in the race, Vince, but it sure looks like he's got a good race car.
Boy, he's got a real good race car. In fact, they have hardly touched it, haven't made a chassis adjustment and just a real slight air pressure adjustment all day. Rodney Childers told me earlier before the race they expected the challenge for the pole this weekend. Instead, they qualified 26th. He said, I'm not sure what happened, but I can tell you this, we've got a good race car. Unfortunately, that bad starting position, as you said, where the yellow fell, Alan, we had a couple of bad breaks, but they are bad fast.
Well, how fast was Mark in the opening run of the race? 26th to 10th. before pitting under the green and then having the caution flag come out and trap him a couple of laps down. He's trying to dig his way out of that hole. Martin right now, 9th position, but again, 1 lap down. Brad Keselowski trying to dig out of the hole that bad pit stop a little earlier cost him.
Doing a pretty good job of that. Already by Clint Boyer on this restart and trying to take that 4th spot away from Jeff Gordon now.
Yeah, he pretty well erased that gap. That caution did. So now he's back about where he was before he made that stop that caught him in trouble. It looks like they've made some pretty good adjustments on this car. Looks like it's better right now, Dave.
And guys, remember, this is only the 4th race for crew chief Paul Wolfe and Brad Keselowski together. Ask Paul this morning, well, what you've learned so far, if you have any different focus coming in this afternoon. And he goes, this weekend, we realized we were focusing way too much on turning in the middle of the corner before. In the races, we would really lose the handle going into the corner. We'd lose the handle going off. The car turned great, but we decided to re-emphasize our focus. And it's helped him a lot. He's been running strong all day, except for that pit road hiccup.
Well, you're right, Dale. Martin's car is fast. He passed Casey Kane easy.
So Mark Martin now, if the caution were to come out, would be the free pass recipient. The first car lap down, get waved around the pace car and back onto the lead lap. Off the pace is Greg Biffle, and now headed for pit road.
And Greg Biffle, you see him lock it up there. He just radioed to his crew, having a front tire issue. I've got a pit. They're over the wall and ready. The call is 4 tires here, just to be careful. Not exactly sure what is going on, but he thinks it's in the front, something not right with the 16 of Greg Biffle. The guys are ready. They're working on the right-hand side. Be as quickly as possible here. Just changed 4 tires. That's the call. Unfortunate for Greg Biffle, Alan.
He was running in 12th position, Jamie. Not all that bad. One of the guys a lap down, but now that's going to drop him a couple of more laps down and make what has been a difficult start to his championship chase even more difficult.
Impressed watching Denny Hamlin on these 2 tires. Yeah, not far off of what Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch just seemed that he jumps out there. He can run so fast with those fresh tires and get himself a little bit of distance. Jimmy Johnson, he's changed his line somewhat, especially down in 1 and 2 the last few laps. Been running, trying to hire him once he goes back to the bottom. As I talk about that, but the previous 3 or 4 laps, he'd been up top, seeing if he could make something happen up there, trying to catch Denny Hamlin.
It's always the way it works. You notice that the second you start calling it out on the air. Solid day for Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, this has really been all 3 races in the chase that this team has been a top 5 car. Yeah. It is very unfortunate with that throttle problem that they had at Chicago, where they'd be right there in the middle of this championship battle.
And for Jeff, he says, you know, for them to have any opportunity at the championship, they have to continue to run up front and press for wins, and they have to survive Talladega next week. They can't be in the big wreck.
Yeah, when the rest of the leaders have problems, they have to survive that. And then get some wins at places like Martinsville. They did really good in some other places. But another solid day, Vince.
That's right, guys. And the fact that Alan Gustafson knows he's got good race cars. I mean, over the course of the last 3 months, other than, you know, Watkins Glen, they had a late issue. Michigan, they had a problem. You know, they had an engine. They've had an accident. Other than those 3 races, they have been really fast. So at least he knows he's got fast race cars, and he's got that guy in the seat that when challenged will rise up and get the job done too. So they believe if they can catch a break or 2, they've got the cars to get it done. They can win some races. Whether they can make up 45 points remains to be seen, but at least they believe they can do their part.
Jimmy Johnson, thank you, Vince. Closing in on Denny Hamlin for 2nd place. And really, it is all about points. It's not about position necessarily and where you are within the top 12. It's about how many points you are behind the leader.
Hey, Alan, the 11 car of Denny Hamlin right in front of Jimmy Johnson there. You saw them make that 2-tire call on the stop. I asked crew chief Darian Grubb specifically this morning about his challenges. And one of them he said, and I quote, don't make the wrong call at the wrong time. I said, okay, what are the sucker holes for a crew chief? He said, well, one is your fuel window, don't blow that, but also taking 2 or 4 at the right time. Now, as we get to the halfway point of this race, pretty obvious they've got time to recover if this goes in the wrong direction, but they've also got that good information for the end of today by making that call then.
I'm almost shocked how good it's right now.
Hey, this race got a lot easier for those crew chiefs that have those 7 cars on the lead lap when all of that happened earlier on. It's pretty much 4 tires for a good while.
It would be for me.
Just across halfway at Dover today, race 3 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Kyle Busch leads it. Time to go NASCAR Nonstop, presented by AT&T.
Between Brad Keselowski and Jeff Gordon on the track. Aerial coverage today provided by Goodyear from pit lane to victory lane. Every NASCAR driver counts on Goodyear tires. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. If you're just joining us, the 5-Hour Energy Rapid Recap is going to get us caught up on what has happened so far today, starting with the very first caution of the day. J.J. Yeley, a blown tire, and boy, did that mess up the running.
Boy, that messed up everything, Nicole. He threw debris all over the racetrack just about the same time that everybody's making pit stops, and it left many people a lap down, all confused. Right now, we've only got 7 cars on the lead lap because of that problem right there with J.J. Yeley.
Yeah, and Brad Keselowski, another one that had a problem early on. You see the jack, he tries to engage it there, and it just does not work, so they end up with a broken jack, but he is still fighting back and has kept himself on the lead lap up near the front.
Right now, Keselowski running 5th, but how about Denny Hamlin in 2nd, completely exceeding expectations today?
Oh, yeah, he didn't even call this one. He didn't even say he was going to win this one. But he and Darian Grubb have hooked onto something. Definitely had a good car. Actually put 2 tires on just before, after this pit stop here, and it's incredible how fast that car is on 2 tires. A lot of good information right there in case he needs to get track position at the end of the race.
Second fastest car on that last lap was Denny Hamlin with 2 tires. We said earlier, Andy Petrie wasn't quite sure about the 2-tire strategy, but you thought it's good experimentation for later.
Well, with only 5 or 6 cars on the lead lap, and you might need to know to get some track position, it's a good time to try it then because you still have a lot of laps left to make it up if it doesn't go well.
24 and the 2 still battling it out, Alan.
Yeah, Brad Keselowski is digging out of that hole that the broken jack on the pit stop created for him. And is working his way up now to the 4th position, Nicole. He's 4.9 seconds behind leader Kyle Busch in a race that has had only a couple of cautions so far. The one for the exploding right front fender there on J.J. Yeley's car, and another for debris in turn 3 just prior to halfway.
Yeah, Andy was high on this 2 car after talking with him in the garage area. And what I'm seeing now, you better not count that 2 car out of this race yet.
Yeah, he's already at his high water mark of the day, so yes, he's definitely dug himself out of the hole that he was in earlier, and now he's going to front.
So Keselowski there in 4th. Follow up on an earlier story. We called Greg Biffle down pit road for a green flag stop when he was running in 12th place, 1 lap down. Now he's back in 25th place, and he's 3 laps down in that 16 car.
Wow. Yeah. That's not good. That's just a little miscommunication there. I'm sure they have problems with this wheel. I understand the frustration, but we've got to maintain the composure. We've got to go back out here to minimize the losses.
Biffle, who was among the championship leaders all season long, just about, and then reseeded a little bit lower for the start of the chase, finds himself. He came in with very, very high hopes of competing for and winning the championship, and now he finds himself starting the day today 9th in points and 33 behind the leader Jimmie Johnson.
Yeah, how many forks do they have in him in the pre-race?
Yeah.
He just added another.
Will it be unanimous here by the time this day is over? But very disappointing because, Greg Biffle was, I think, being very convincing in saying that he thought he had a legitimate shot to win this championship. But these first 3 races just haven't panned out that way. Not even close to the top 10.
Jeff Gordon, Clint Bowyer, 5th and 6th positions. 6 seconds behind the leader, Kyle Busch. Steady, solid day for Clint Bowyer. been up in the top 3, 4, 5 all race long. Was on the fortunate side of things that hadn't pitted yet when that caution came out earlier, but it's been a good run for Boyer.
Yeah, good, just not spectacular. And to win this championship, you're going to have some spectacular days. I know he's going to a place that he loves to race next week at Talladega with a couple of wins there. But he needs to continue to be solid here and get himself inside the top 5 and minimize the points loss if Hamlin and Johnson are able to keep running up in front of him and minimize, again, that loss of points for him.
Just how difficult this championship is going to be to win. Clint Boyer's finished 10th and 4th in the first 2 races in the chase, right? And he's fallen another 9 points behind the leader, Jimmie Johnson, in those 2 top 10 finishes.
Yeah, and we talk about his chances of winning a championship. I mean, that's a tall order for an organization at Michael Waltrip that just got their first 2 cars in the chase. So it's fantastic they're even there battling and in this position. Just shows how far they've come and the tremendous group of people that they have within that organization making all of this happen, and very talented drivers and crew chiefs.
Brian Patty, the crew chief of this car, continues to preach the philosophy that we just want to get to Homestead, the last race of the season, mathematically with a shot at it. That's all we can ask. Let's see what happens. Green flag pit stop, Ryan Newman, Dave.
Scheduled stop for Ryan Newman. He will get a chassis adjustment and 4 tires. Newman's car right now, little bit, get some wedge for that. A little bit on the loose side, I think, guys. Doc?
Here comes Tony Stewart in, running 14, 2 laps down. He stayed out when everyone else pitted on lap 180 to get the wave around to get one of those laps back. He's going to go 4 tires. Tony said the car is actually getting better. It's coming to me. It's just taking way too long. Still free on entry, but better turning in the middle. He's away.
Yep, Doc mentioned it. These are the cars that stayed out on that last caution to try and make up one of the laps and hope for a yellow flag that would allow them to get back on the same fuel and tire window as these leaders. Don't expect to see Kyle Busch in for another 25 laps if we don't see a yellow between now and then. 3-second lead, Kyle Busch to Denny Hamlin. As we go NASCAR Nonstop, presented by AT&T. Race 3 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup, being led and dominated by one of the drivers not in the championship group. Kyle Busch, who missed out on the chase in that heartbreaking final night at Richmond, has led almost half of this race at Dover so far. Today, he's dominating on the Monster Mile.
Demons, we all got them. Some shut down hope, some solicit rage. You see, the demons, they want you to run for cover. But the truth is, this monster offers salvation.
Now for Kyle Busch, not making the championship, salvation for his season is just winning as many of these last races as he can. And he has been out in front far more than anyone else so far. Hit Dover, trying to break a trend. Every Dover chase race has been won by one of the drivers in the championship group. Kyle looking to be the first exception to that today. So strong in this 18 car today, Dave.
Very much so, and crew chief Dave Rogers knew it going in this morning. I asked him if they changed any of their philosophy since they didn't make the chase. He goes, you know, we might be trying a few subtle things with our pit crew, or maybe a couple of mechanical things, but he used the word subtle again. As far as just our race, he says our performance is showing that we're in this to win. We ran great at New Hampshire. Kyle will tell you New Hampshire is his worst track, and until they had motor trouble, they were having a great day. And once again here, the 18 showing his strength. Don't give up on the 18 fans, because crew chief sure isn't.
Well, a lot of folks wondered after the way that Richmond race wound up for Kyle Busch and Dave Rogers if they'd be able to regroup and come back together as that all-important duo of driver and crew chief, and they've shown in these last couple of weeks the answer to that is yes.
A couple of ways you can go there is just, okay, get kind of disgusted and deflated by not making the chase, or just strengthen your resolve and say, okay, now let's show them what we've got. And I think that's the route they're taking, and it's really looking good for them.
Yeah, and Kyle Busch is too much of a racer. You know, when he gets in, strapped in here, yeah, he's supposed to go win races and dominate races like this today. And as he said, they had a great car last week. Just unfortunate some of the things that have kept them out of the chase happened to them again there, but very, very solid.
One of the faster cars on the racetrack later on in this green flag run of the race is Brad Keselowski, who just passed Jeff Gordon a little bit ago to move up to the 4th position. Here it is.
Clear, clear, clear. All right, buddy. Here's 4 championships. Go get the 5 in front of you. Good job there, Brad. Good patience.
Brad spotter Joey Meyer and the captain Roger Penske chiming in on the radio there. Of course, Jimmy Johnson next in line in front of Brad on the racetrack. Got a little ways to go to catch him. And as you look at the as they run championship standings, that's close.
That is close, yeah. And you know, the one thing everybody feared, all these drivers in the chase, was Jimmy Johnson coming here dominating and getting maximum points here today and kind of separating himself a little bit. Well, that's not going to happen because Kyle Busch is going to lead the most laps here, so that's a point that he's not going to get. Plus, Jimmy is still not in the top 2, so everybody's being able to hang on and make this a great battle to the end.
Yeah, I haven't counted Jimmy Johnson out for a chance to win this. I think he's still on the mark. I think he's playing his cards. I'm not saying that he's not giving everything he's got, because you can almost tell by right there that he's driving the car hard, but I still think that he is going to be a factor to win this thing before it's over.
Again, impressed with these 2 tires on Denny Hamlin's car. I think that's going to change the way some folks on pit road may look at a late stop here, possibly.
Yeah, we heard Ray talking about how you can learn something about how it would affect your car and how it would work with 2 tires. I think he's educated everybody, like you said, that this works really good. I'm impressed.
See, those 2 cars just went by Bobby Labonte. Earlier in the race, Labonte had an unscheduled green flag pit stop, and that set him back in the pack, and he's not been able to recover from that since. Wheel coming up, we'll come up on another round of green flag pit stops in about another 8 to 9 laps. So we'll go down to NASCAR nonstop. Come back to the pit road action.
In the right rear, they go round out of the right rear as well to try to get Gordon a little bit more drive off the center. Don?
Jimmy Johnson says the overall grip's okay. I can use better, but I really need to work on landing early in the run. 1 round up, track bar, 1 round up, and a half round up on the left rear tank.
Kyle said the car is so good, I hate to mess with it, but just a little bit more in the direction of keeping up with the freeing racetrack than the chassis adjustment. Denny Hamlin said the car turned better in the center, but a little tight. That 2-tire thing might have had something to do with that. They'll make an adjustment for Denny and put 4 on this time.
Johnson gaining a spot on Hamlin on the exchange of pit stops. I'll bet there'll be a lot of crew chiefs down for a look at those left side tires that came off that 11 car as we work the 3rd caution today here at the Monster Mile in Dover, Delaware. Our telecast presented by GoDaddy.com.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at Dover is presented by GoDaddy.com and in part by Nationwide Insurance. Nationwide is on your side.
Getting ready for the restart at Dover. A reminder later tonight, the AAA Insurance NHRA Midwest Final Eliminations at 8 Eastern Time on ESPN2. And then next Sunday, it's on to the real wild card in the chase for the Sprint Cup, Talladega. Coverage presented by Pennzoil next Sunday at 1 Eastern on ESPN. Who makes it through the big one? Gain some ground on those who don't. 3rd caution of the race for debris in turn number 3. Hunk of something out there. And you see some of the cars taking a wave around under this yellow being sent by the pace car. Denny Hamlin, a lot of folks poking around the left side tires on that 11 car, Dave?
We were, Alan, and hunks of rubber being taken off to reveal the wear marks on the left side. You see them there. They look great. I did ask crew chief Darren Grubb this morning, could you go 3 stints on them if you needed to? Go ahead and laugh, because he did too. He said, no. 2 stints will be all we'll be taking, and they indeed look great. They should be good to go if they want to try that again. But the one problem was, though, the handling of the race car. It did get too tight in the center for Denny.
Sometimes it makes you wonder whether that was because of the 2 tires, or do you really need to adjust on them?
So as we get set to go, a number of all of those drivers that just took the wave around, they're not even getting back on the lead lap with that. This field is really kind of jumbled up.
A lot of time, man. From here, everybody needs one stop. But, yeah, it's a mess. There's like 9 on the lead lap, 5 on our lap, 5 on the lap behind that. The whole field is a disaster.
Yeah, it's been that kind of race, and that's what happens when you have something like that happen in the middle of a green flag run.
Kasey Kahne back on the lead lap with the free pass at that caution flag. Kyle Busch back in the lead, holds off the challenge from Jimmie Johnson. In the 10 car.
That's tight quarters right there.
Yep. All these cars a lap or more down.
Yeah, Junior's the one that's 1 lap down. He's trying to get up there and race with Mark Martin and try to get back in that free pass zone.
Harvick, 29, 2 laps down in 14th place. McMurray in the 1, 4 laps down in 26th place. Again, not with us earlier. Green flag pit stops ongoing in the late 60s lap count in this race when a caution came out after the right front tire on J.J. Yeley's 36 car let go and scattered the fender all over the racetrack, and it left us at that time with just 6 cars on the lead lap. We gained a couple since then through the free pass.
And Ricky Stenhouse there in the 6th car. It hasn't been a great day as he's sideways off of turn 4 trying to get by Jamie Murray, but he's up in the 15th spot even though he's 2 laps down.
The way some of these cars have been darting around in traffic, we might have expected to see another yellow flag here. Speaking of darting around in traffic and banging bumpers, it happened between some of the front runners on that last restart. Watch Denny Hamlin in the 11.
It's kind of an old short track move there. You feel like guy behind you inching up on you, hit your bumper, that's when you take off. Then you can leave here.
Watch the hands on the steering wheel of the 11.
Wow. I think they adjusted for that tightness.
Maybe. Still pretty good, though.
Yeah, he's good, but he's not. He's kind of like roles reversed from last week when Denny Hamlin was in a league of his own. That's the way his teammate Kyle Busch is here today.
You see 260th lap being worked. Kyle Busch has led 215, now 216 laps in this race.
I talked to Jimmy Makar in the garage this morning. Just talked about they got 1 car in the chase. You got one that just missed it with Kyle Busch, and you got Joey Logano moving on next year. And I said, how's the company overall? He says, well, believe it or not, they're in really good shape. He feels really good about the performance and how they'll run from now to the end with that 11 car and a chance to win this championship. Really felt like this was going to be a turning point, though. If they could get out of here with a good finish and run like they're running today, then they feel like they'll have a great chance at the championship.
Andy, I think I told you the other day after practice, and I asked Joey Logano something about it Friday during their first practice session for the Sprint Cup cars. I stood down in the Nationwide garage area and could watch the cars through turns 3 and 4, and I mentioned 5 cars that looked. Their cars looked different than everybody else. And it was 3 Gibbs cars with Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano. But then Jimmie Johnson and Brad Keselowski's cars, they just had a different look about them that seemed to allow them to make more speed through the center of the corner and exit of the corner. And here are the 4 of those 5 were up in the top 5.
Now, we're talking about this caution that came out in the middle of the green flag pit stops earlier. I just want to document where some of the guys are that are just on the edge of getting back on the lead lap. There's Mark Martin, first car 1 lap down, 9th place. If the caution comes out, he gets the free pass for the moment. The gap from Mark back to the next car, you mentioned him just a second ago, Joey Logano running in 10th in that 20 car. Again, trapped earlier, a lap down by the caution, but having a solid run. Just behind Joey, Martin Truex Jr. and Carl Edwards. Truex Jr. is next in line. Edwards on the lead lap. Truex Jr. 1 lap down. He's in 11th place. He's a guy that started 3rd, had high hopes for the day, and fell back in the opening run of the race and hasn't ever been able to recover.
Yeah, he fell back quick, too. I was kind of surprised at that. But, he was one of the victims in that round of pit stops, too, when he lost all that ground and lost the lap or two.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr. is the only other car 1 lap down in that 88 car. All those cars between Jr. and Truex Jr. are all 2 laps or more down, including the Harvick and Biffles and all those people.
And we saw in that group of cars when we panned back there. We talked about Carl Edwards running in 6th. Jeff Gordon followed behind him in this run. And this is the worst that we've seen the 24 car all day.
I think it might be a relative thing. I think we're seeing some of these other cars get better. Jimmy's about the best run Jimmy's made. The 2 cars running really good this run.
There you see Jeff Gordon sliding back on some of those.
But this probably is his worst run.
Got an update there for us, Vince?
It's been an issue of just being able to get back on the throttle for Jeff Gordon. He said it's tight in the center, and then as soon as he wants to get on the throttle, it wants to get loose on him. So they made some of those adjustments on that last pit stop, also trying to get the car to come in sooner. They just haven't worked on this run, and as you said, maybe the worst run he's had so far today.
Well, if that's the bad news for Jeff Gordon, I guess the good news is he is still one of the guys on the lead lap, and they do have another pit stop left to go to make the finish of this race. See, Jeff, even with a 3rd place finish in New Hampshire last week, didn't make up any points on the leader. He's got Talladega on his mind as well, where the championship's concerned. Time to go NASCAR Nonstop, presented by AT&T. Fight for the lead. Jimmy Johnson has closed in on Kyle Busch. Almost got him, but some lap traffic was there.
See Kyle's the back end kicking out just a little bit as he tries to continue this torrid pace, but I'm not sure if this car is handling as good as it has or if the 48's just got that much better.
I think what Jimmy's doing, I think he just looked at his watch. He saw, okay, 277 laps down. I think it's time to go.
Been good on, I mean, they've been extremely fast on the get-go, but then they've really been good with the tires hanging on for him throughout a long run here today. Nobody's been able to, every time somebody gets close to him, he pulls back away.
And Kyle Busch's season of frustration, the last 6 races in which he's led the most laps, he hasn't taken home the trophy. He will lead the most laps today here at Dover. But he's got the 5-time champ and 7-time Dover winner knocking on his back door.
How many times I have to tell you that drivers only look at stats that benefit them?
Yeah.
Pay attention to that.
Let's update the 12 drivers in the championship. We go up to speed, starting with Dr. Jerry Punch.
Well, Alan, as you said before, Jimmy Johnson has led the most laps the last 7 consecutive races here, but he has yet to lead a single lap today. Now, he hasn't said a word on the radio about the last 100 laps, not going to complain about anything other than maybe a little help on landing. What does that tell you? That tells you that what Andy said a moment ago, Jimmy Johnson is waiting for go time, and folks, it's almost go time. Hey, Burns.
Denny Hamlin had his chase on go from the start, and the much better day that we've talked about here at Dover continues. Right now, his car is a little bit too free when he mashes the throttle, but other than that, it's a very good run for Denny. As for the 2 of Keselowski, the run started with a bit of a concern. He was hitting the splitter at the very beginning, but as the air pressures came up on those front tires, so did the splitter. And he radioed his crew complimenting the car so good in and off the corner. Jamie?
And Cliff Bowyer started his day second. The best he's done here. One of the few cars that has remained on the lead lap all day long. Cliff taking his championship
he now has the most ill-handling car he's had all day. Jamie?
Well, finally, at lap 249, Kasey Kahne got that well-deserved fast pass. He got back on the lead lap. He's been working to get it. He's been one of the fastest cars throughout the day. Right now, he's just saying the car isn't restarting as well as he needs. They want an air pressure adjustment on the next stop, Doc.
What a shame for local favorite Martin Truex Jr. Qualified third, had a very tight race car early on, had a tire going down, so had to pit early. After he pitted, the caution comes out, locking him a lap down. He has not been able to get back on the lead lap in spite of having a really good race car now running in 11th spot. Dave.
Doc, Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s day was going to be great. The first green flag run, he picked up 10 positions from a poor qualifying spot. But then the caution came out while he was trying to pit under green flag conditions. They still have to recover from that. He's down over a lap. Car a little bit loose right now, but that lap back is what he really needs. Jamie?
I talked to crew chief Gil Martin this morning for Kevin Harvick, and he told me, you know, it's no secret. We've been down. We haven't been running as well as we want to. So as a result, we've been testing at Nashville every Wednesday to try to find something, anything to help us in the chase. They'll do the same thing this Wednesday. He's been loose all week, Vince.
For Matt Kenseth, this isn't one of his better racetracks. 3 straight top 5s. He was third here in June, but it's been a struggle all weekend for Matt, and that has not changed today. He has had a handful. He's now 14th, 2 laps down. Doc?
And for Tony Stewart, he would tell you this is probably one of his worst racetracks. He told me before the race today, you can't be good on 10 straight Sundays. What you got to do is not be so bad on the one Sunday that you don't do well. Right now, Tony is running in 19th spot. He finished 25th here a year ago and went on to win the championship. Jamie.
Well, Greg Biffle, they just missed it. The first 2 chase races seems to be the same story today. We played that radio for you. He had a front tire issue, and he explained his displeasure with taking 4 tires on the radio. He went down another lap. He's now 3 laps down. He hasn't said a word on the radio since.
All right, Jamie, so there we go. How the 12 drivers in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup are faring as we come up on the 3/4 mark of today's race here in Dover. Kyle Busch has stabilized his lead over Jimmie Johnson. It's 0.3 of a second, but they're coming up on some lap traffic, which might offer that 48 an opportunity to try and close back in. Ryan Newman, another lap down. That'll be 4 laps down for the 39.
Kyle's car handles so good, they can kind of go where he needs to pass these lap cars.
Yeah, the bottom's been his preferred line all day. That's where he makes the most speed, but when he's had to move up, that car turns so good in the center. It's a really good run off the corner, and this lap traffic really hasn't bothered him a whole lot.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking it might be an advantage for Kyle when they get the lap traffic because he can maneuver so well. I think Jimmy needs a little more racetrack to work with.
Paul Menard, 19th place, going a 3rd lap down. Uncharacteristically spread out day here at Dover, aided by the caution in the middle of green flag pit stops, but aided by a really fast 18 car driven by Kyle Busch.
The finals, 8 o'clock Eastern tonight on ESPN2. And then the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, we're back next weekend at the real wild card of the chase. It's Talladega, presented by Pennzoil, 1 o'clock Eastern, and next Sunday on ESPN. 300 laps complete so far, and Kyle Busch has really been dominant. But right behind Kyle Busch is a driver who has won here at Dover 7 times, Jimmie Johnson. He started 11th today and has been working his way through the field.
Steadily working his way through the field. He, like you said, Nicole, he started 11th, and he just keeps getting better and better throughout the day. This guy seems to manage this track at Dover with the rubber buildup on it and it being a concrete surface better than anybody. Now he's stalking Kyle Busch. He's right there with him, and he's in the position to strike and win, although Kyle is holding very, very tough.
Yeah, Kyle's done a great job of keeping Jimmy at bay. Jimmy got through his rear bumper. They got into a little bit of traffic and slowed him down a little bit. So So it'll be interesting to see what's going on with Jimmie Johnson as we go forward.
Yeah, kind of a news flash, isn't it? The track gets tricky, the race goes on, and Jimmie Johnson comes to the front in a difficult situation, had great pit road. We knew that those guys were going to be tough as this track changed, and we're seeing the reasons that they're good. He handles the elevation change, he's handled the rubber change, and they've timed their pit stops correctly.
Hey, so coming into this day, we said that this race had the potential to separate the field. We said it could be separation Sunday in the Sprint Cup Series. Is that happening right now with how this race is playing out?
I think it is, and you might not see it as big as we're seeing it, but me and Brad and Rusty got the forks, so we know what's going on. You know, if you look at the top 10, basically 6 of the chasers in the top 10 right now, I really think that that's the cream of the crop. The guys that are outside of the top 10, Martin Truex, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kevin Harvick, they're the guys that really need to gain some points today. They're not doing it. I think it is separating the guys.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm taking a look at Jeff Gordon. He's actually lost some points since this race started. I mean, I tell you, we talked about our fork thing, but about 8th place on down right now, I think we can almost stick a fork in everybody.
Yeah,
nobody's making any gains.
Let's clear that up. It's 5th place on down, and what we're looking at, the big thing, though, for me is obviously Jimmie Johnson, how well he's running, but Denny Hamlin. I talked about that earlier. Denny Hamlin continues to have a solid day, and with one more caution, one more, checkered flag or green flag restart, we can see something interesting happen.
So I want you guys to check this out. It's called the word cloud. The bigger the word, it means the more you at home are talking about it. NASCAR obviously has a really big word, but check out Jimmie Johnson. Obviously, the fans at home, Marty Smith, are talking about 5-time.
They absolutely are, Nicole. And more than anything else, it's about what Rusty was just discussing a moment ago. How Johnson is able to adapt to the rubber laying down on the racetrack. Many people wondered why he is so good here. He actually notes that it's because of his off-road background. He said this oval track, more than any other, is conducive to what he did back then, how that rubber lays down. He has to launch off the corner, down the straightaway, drops off into the corner, time and again, and the focus that it requires to be great at it. Ray, one thing that I've always noticed is that guys like Tony Stewart, Jimmie Johnson, Ryan Newman, Kasey Kahne, guys that have these dirt backgrounds are so versatile to difficult tracks like this.
Yeah, these guys are used to reading that dirt. The grooves trace out. We see some smoke there. We're going to get caution.
Caution clear.
Matt Kenseth, something under the rear suspension of that car.
Yeah, we talked about that to start the show, how hard this track is on the cars, the suspension parts. It looks like he's failed something in the rear suspension. Similar, it looks like, yeah, definitely the track bar on the left side.
I think it's broke off the truck army, guys. I'm trying not to saw the drive shaft in half here.
Yeah, we saw the same thing happen to Justin Allgaier in the Nationwide race yesterday.
Matt was in 14th place, 2 laps down when this happened.
Yeah, when that track bar breaks, the only thing that holds the rear end in the center of the car is the fender. You see that left rear tire got against the fender.
That's a cool picture.
Yeah.
Not if you're a Kenseth fan.
No. You got to get
running on the high side. Got a flat tire or something. Caution clear.
Andy, that can be directly related to a lot of the things they're doing with these rear end housings to help these cars.
Yeah, a lot of teams are doing some things with the rear suspension to try to maximize side force, aerodynamic side force, and it could be causing some of these things we're seeing, putting extra stress on these rear suspension pieces.
All right, pit road was closed, so none of the leaders came down this time.
Tell you what, that's a big break for Kasey Kahne, who had gotten back on the lead lap the previous caution.
Yep.
I watched his lap times, and he has a really, really good race car. So now he's going to be starting up there with the other 7 cars on the lead lap. There'll be 9 cars, I think. Mark will get the free pass this time.
Yep. Mark, big break for him, too. Been running in that first car lap down position since the last restart, and now he's going to get the free pass and come back around.
I can't wonder that thing's not fast. It looks like the New York Yankees paint scheme.
I don't even know what to say.
Get stripes on the front, yeah.
Well, this is going to be interesting on the fuel window, Andy, because The longest we've seen these guys run so far today was about 74 laps with a couple laps of caution in there. Now we've got 90 laps to go.
I don't see anybody be able to do 90 laps, not at full speed. You'd have to slow way up, I think, to do that. I don't know that we'll see anybody really try to stretch that.
Well, they better get it full on these pit stops that will come with 89 laps to go. Kyle Busch, Jimmie Johnson, Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, the top 4 coming in. Here they are, Doc.
Jimmie Johnson coming in said the car got a little tight in the middle and snappy loose again. They're going to go up one on the track bar on the right side, up a half on the left rear. 4 tires. Slide air pressure change, get it full of fuel. Going to be very close on fuel, Alan. About 4 or 5 lap shot. Jamie.
Cliff Bowyer must have said the word loose 30 times in that run. They're going to pump up all 4 tires. Actually, they already did that before they went over the wall. 4 tires and fuel, Dave.
Kyle Busch, they'll go back on an air pressure adjustment, do a little more track bar. He needs better grip off the corner. Denny Hamlin's car was too loose. He'll get an adjustment in 4 tires. The last instruction, get it full, full, full.
And you saw the 1 second difference in pit stops between Jimmie Johnson and Kyle Busch has exchanged control of the restart. Jimmie Johnson out in front as we go NASCAR Nonstop, presented by AT&T. Coverage of Monday Night Football continues tomorrow. First at 6:30, it's Monday Night Countdown, served by Applebee's. Then at 8:30, 2 of the game's most storied franchises go head-to-head. Jay Cutler and the Bears visit Tony Romo and the Cowboys. Monday Night Football, Bears, Cowboys, tomorrow at 8:30 on ESPN. So, interesting twist of plot here at Dover. Fuel to the finish, a question, and a little exchange of track position on the pit stops. We start with Denny Hamlin, now 4th.
I think the throttle is sticking a little bit. I'm in neutral, and it's running about 3,600, so I don't know what's up with that. We got the #1 pit stall, too. I mean, we can't be losing spots.
Yeah, 10-4, but we're sorry about that. We're having some issues on the rear there. We'll probably have one more shot here to make it up to you.
So, first of all, that tells us a little bit about their fuel thinking.
It tells us that they probably cannot make it to the end of the race. Planning on one more stop.
And a look at the 11's pit stop to see if we can spy what the trouble on the rear was that Darian Grubb was referencing to his driver.
Yeah, you can see right there, just had a problem with the lug nut. A good right side drops from that 6-second range. You can see that was 8 seconds.
When Jimmie Johnson's doing a 12.8, and even Kyle Busch was doing a 13.8, and you do a 14.8.
Yeah, it's time to go right now. You got to put your best stuff out there.
Doubled up for the restart. 85 laps to go. Jimmie Johnson in control of the restart, choosing the outside lane on the race's dominant car and driver so far, Kyle Busch. Let's see how this one goes.
Pit stop, as we'll call it, losing that spot. Already passed Brad Keselowski, trying to take over that 2nd spot. Not going to happen though.
Jimmie Johnson, trouble, turn 4. Matt Kenseth.
Spot in the middle, then 3 and 4.
Evidently, they didn't get that car fixed all the way.
No, you can see.
Yeah.
Was 25th, and the day's just gotten considerably worse.
Well, some drivers have been hoping for some quick cautions. Had a few that took the way around the back, got back on the lead lap or anything, but that is going to get Martin Truex Jr. the free pass to get back on the lead lap.
Cannot be a fun feeling screaming off into one of these corners at Dover.
Now this chase has just kind of gone bad to worse for Matt Kenseth.
Yep. Boy, probably their best racetrack. They'd have to think about.
Yeah, they had shock fall off in Chicago, and just kind of a terrible run there. Definitely a mistake by the team somewhere. This track bar broke here.
So as Matt said, things falling off the race car. And be it through the brute force of competing here at the Monster Mile, or not, troubles for Matt have put him in the garage. Couple of lead lap cars pitting here. Vince?
Jeff Gordon in that 24 came in, got 2 quick ones. He said they gained on it on that last restart, so maybe going in the right direction for Jeff. Jamie?
And Casey Kane as well, he's been loose. The last run was the loosest he's been all day. They're working on the right-hand side. They're trying to get the car a little better, but since the sun has gone down a little bit and clouds have been out, the car hasn't been as good as earlier. You see him putting on 4 tires and filling it up now.
All right, Jamie, thanks. So those are 3 of the lead lap cars that pitted, and as DJ mentioned, Martin Truex Jr. does get back on the lead lap with the free pass. Put him back in. And I wonder how many guys out there are shutting them off and coasting as much as they can under this caution to try and stretch that fuel to the finish. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. 79 laps to go. Martin Truex Jr. has come back onto the lead lap. Free pass at this caution. It gives us now 10 cars on the lead lap as we get set to go back at it. And yes, lots of shutting them off and coasting under the caution flag for the guys that didn't pit. First one in the restart who did stop under the yellow would be Jeff Gordon along with Casey Kane in 7th and 8th. What's it going to be this time? It's going to be Jimmy Johnson getting another great restart.
Kyle Busch had thoughts of going to the outside of Johnson there. Brad Keselowski was good on that restart from the high side too.
Yeah, I think that outside lane definitely an advantage on the restarts for that second row. Saw Denny Hamlin take advantage of it on the last restart.
Yeah, it's just so difficult on that inside with the banking and to get your car to keep it from spinning the tires and getting up to speed like you need to.
Top 5 for Carl Edwards in that 99 car as Kyle Busch regroups and makes a charge.
I think Kyle knows he needs to do it now because his car has been so good on these opening laps after a restart, and then Jimmy's car needs to come on.
Look, little wide there for the 48. Not wide enough.
It's just so hard from that bottom to stay in the gas when you're trying to make a pass. You don't have all the air on the nose that you need to. See Kyle really hanging this thing out trying to make it happen right now.
Is that about staying in the gas?
Yeah. Well, staying in the gas is one thing. Getting it to go where you want it to go is the other.
Yeah, there's the trick, huh? So there's first and second. Keselowski now feeling a little pressure from Denny Hamlin for third. A little gap back to Carl Edwards and Clint Bowyer in 5th and 6th.
Well, the best run for Carl Edwards we've seen in quite a long time. That's the car up in the top 5.
Third place here. There's still a lot of racing left in this, but you can just kind of feel a little intensity pick up here.
Yeah, I think definitely Denny's got the best car. Brad didn't want to give it up.
No, and I think that he thought that if he could hold him there for a lap or 2, 3 maybe, that Denny'd wear his tires a little bit more, and that may come back to benefit him. I think he knows that Denny's a better car right now.
Now, and Brad in this 2 car has been a better car over a longer run. If this race goes green to the finish, and he has enough fuel to make it, he'll be stronger toward the end.
Yeah, if anybody can make it on that fuel, I believe the 2 car can. They get great fuel mileage. And we had a lot of cars that pitted under that last caution. We feel like they can make it. Saw other guys shutting it off during that caution, trying to save fuel.
That last little bit of yellow flag might have been just enough to put a lot of these guys in the fuel window.
I think so, but it's just barely enough.
It will be interesting to watch the 5 and the 24. Just how hard do they run here for a little bit? Do they kind of save their fuel at the beginning of this run just in case those guys aren't as good and can't make it like they may think?
Clint Bowyer, 15, trying to get around Carl Edwards for 5th place. As Jimmie Johnson's lead over Kyle Busch is stabilized for the moment. There is Kasey Kahne creeping into that picture in the 5 car. Cars, Dale. You're in Kyle Busch's seat right now. You've had a great car all day. Somebody's gotten in front of you. Are you gripping that wheel any harder? Are you having to talk yourself into relaxing for a minute?
Yeah. You're having to talk yourself into relaxing and go back to what you were doing. Your car's probably not driving quite as good because for the first time you don't have all of that clean air, and you're frustrated that you have led this race for most of the day, and here all of a sudden, especially Jimmie Johnson, who seems to be able to do this.
Yeah, and one thing you're seeing here too, I think definitely the 18 car is better than Jimmie Johnson, but his pit crew got him out front. He's rewarding them. He's doing a great job of trying to take away the line from Kyle Busch and manage the lead. I think he's doing a great job.
Well, one thing we know, Kyle's not going to give up. No, but for the moment, Jimmy's been able to hang on. 68 laps to go at Dover.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at Dover is presented by GoDaddy.com, the quick and easy way to get your business or personal website online. Here Comes the Boom in theaters October 12th. And in part by AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. AT&T, rethink possible.
Down to the final 60 laps on the Monster Mile in Dover. And 2 drivers separating themselves from the group for the moment. Jimmie Johnson leading, Kyle Busch right with him. Kyle has dominated the race so far, leading 267 of the 340 that have been completed, but lost the lead to Jimmie Johnson on a pit stop at lap 311. And Jimmie has gotten away from Kyle on 2 restarts since. Let's go up to speed and update these front runners, strategy, fuel to the finish, and what's going on with the race cars. We start with Dr. Jerry Punch.
Thank you, Alan. All of the above. Now, Jimmie Johnson, when he pitted on lap 311, they were going to be roughly 6 to 9 laps short on fuel. The caution comes out now 7 laps later, and they get to save some fuel. If we do not get a yellow flag, and we go all the way to the checkered flag, Jimmie Johnson might be able to make it if, and again, they're saying if, he can slow down and save fuel. But how do you slow down when you got Kyle Busch right behind you? Dave Burns.
Unless, Doc, he's going to do the same thing. I mean, they wouldn't work together to make this happen, but Kyle is basically in the same boat. Before those last caution laps, they said they weren't going to be able to make it, and now they're questioning that. Same thing for his teammate Denny Hamlin. They actually were a little bit worse on fuel, but they are still sort of planning to do it. But I think that falls into the category of that's what they're saying, but they may be asking their driver to do a little bit more than what we know. 2-car Brad Keselowski, you guys called him out. They are going to be able to do it. I checked in their pit. He actually asked his crew, hey, if we top off, this was a couple stops ago, would I be able to make it? And Paul said, you'll be able to make it if you don't do that. Just save me a little. Jamie?
Kasey Kahne came in and topped off on lap 318. They told him afterwards he'd be 1 lap short, so they're telling him to keep an eye on it. Kasey, in the meantime, is saying his car is plowing now.
There's the 99 of Carl Edwards. What a great day it's been for Edwards, and it's long overdue. The last 5 races, his best finish has been 17th, but they have really been working on this car, and Carl keeps telling them, we're getting closer, 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 and finally, they're there on the lead lap. They've still got a ways to go to catch up, but it's as good a car as Carl Edwards has had in a long time. Now, Jeff Gordon, we reported on that last stop, he came in for a splash and took right sides. Now we find out it was gas only for Gordon. Been dealing with a car that hasn't been quite right all afternoon. It's been close. They're hoping they've got something for this last stretch run. Jamie?
Well, that air chief came on the radio and said, all right, in order to make it, we need to back it down. Watch our fuel. Let's start saving.
One of the great stories of the day has been the 55 of Mark Martin. He started 26th today. Now he's running up into the top 10. It's amazing to think of the changes that Mark Martin has seen from the cars he first drove at Dover to the car he's driving now. But it has been fast. They've made 0 chassis adjustments all day long. Doc?
And the local favorite now running back in 10th spot and back on the lead lap. Martin Truex Jr. finally getting back, getting the free pass on lap 319. Martin says we're okay on fuel, but we're going to need a yellow to be able to get bunched up and try to make up some positions. Finally back on the lead lap, but needs some help to get above 10. Alan?
All right, Doc, we're watching lap times on all these front runners, and nobody seems to be backing off much to try and save fuel. Now, Kasey Kahne has backed off a little bit, but it might not be because of the fuel.
I got a loose wheel. So clear by 6. Just keep us posted on that wheel.
I don't get that. There wasn't really any. They weren't racing anybody on pit road that last time they stopped. I think it was just him and Gordon. Came down pit road, maybe another car, but I don't know why they would have left the wheel loose on that one. Jamie?
Well, Kasey is describing it as when he lands, it shakes back and forth. So he's thinking it's a wheel, but they're not sure.
Well, that's kind of what it sounds like.
That cannot be fun here. But Kasey hanging on. Right now in 5th position. And maybe going to give up that spot here to Jeff Gordon. No, not quite in the lap traffic. But it looks like Gordon's going to find a way by eventually. Jimmie Johnson still leading Kyle Busch. And we've got now 49 laps to go. We go NASCAR Nonstop, presented by AT&T. As you saw in our ESPN NASCAR Nonstop coverage, change for the lead. Kyle Busch by Jimmie Johnson. Now the follow-up to that story, a strategic decision on the part of the 48 team, perhaps, to give up the lead to the 18.
But we got to start thinking about what we want to do here. If we want to start saving and trying to make it and give up our track position, or do we want to push to the end and see if we get a caution or pit under green?
That just before Jimmie Johnson pulled to the left and yielded the top spot to Kyle Busch.
Well, when the numbers don't add up, you got to do what you can do, and I think that's smart to try to back off. If they think they can back off and save some fuel, then go ahead and do it. It looked like that the 18 car was not going to do that and allow him to start saving fuel, so that's the only choice he had.
And the difference perhaps between Jimmie Johnson being in the championship and in the championship lead and Kyle Busch not.
Yeah, it certainly makes a big difference in what you do there. I just wonder why they may have waited as long as they did to start trying to save fuel, and maybe it's only about 45 laps that they needed to start doing that, Doc.
Well, DJ, you're actually right. They thought they would be close if the lap times were to come down, but they're not close enough. So here's what Chad just said a moment ago. After that, he said, you know, guys, he said, Jimmie, I want from now on, I want 80% throttle at the start-finish line. 80% throttle and no more. So we really got to back it up to save fuel. So that's the order to Jimmie to try to make it and to try to hang on for the final lap.
It's going to be interesting to see what the 11 car does, too. We heard that they can't make it either. Will they sit there and run behind Jimmie, or will they kind of charge up to the front and risk running out of fuel?
And on the other side, once Kyle Busch got by Jimmie Johnson and gave himself a little bit of a gap back to the 48 car, his lap times have slowed up a little bit too. I guess that vibration wasn't getting any better, Jamie.
No, it wasn't. Kasey said the shake felt like something different, not a wheel, but the team knew otherwise. And Kenny Francis said that is what we think it is, a right front loose wheel. So you can imagine Kasey was not happy with that news. They changed those right sides. He came in here top 5 in points, and he's been running top 10 all day. Team is very disappointed.
Ouch. And it's only going to get worse, Jamie, because there's a lug nut missing on that 5 car, and he's going to have to come back down the pit lane as second place changes hands. Denny Hamlin by Jimmie Johnson. Kasey Kahne's going to have to come back in, and the driver who is 5th in the championship is suffering late race woes at Dover.
Yeah, that's bad mistakes right there in the road.
That's why Brad Daugherty was pretty quick to put that fork in that team, even before the day started.
So, the answer to your question about what would Denny Hamlin do is he's going to pass Jimmy Johnson. And here comes Brad Keselowski.
And I think Kyle Busch starting to back up with his times, too, where he was running down in the 2470s. He's up over 25 seconds.
What about the race leader, Dave?
Well, there has been radio traffic following the Jimmy Johnson pass that you need to hear, and then I'll have some more thoughts. Go ahead.
40 went into fuel saving mode. We cannot. Like we cannot make it? No, we cannot make it. How many short? 7.
And then he said, no, make that 8. And then they argued about whether or not they should run fast and just go ahead and pit, or whether they could save. And they've been back and forth and back and forth and back and forth again. Kyle asking most recently, how hard are your calculations? And Dick said, I'm pretty sure they're right on. So I don't think they're going to be able to make it. They just have to decide now when they might want to pit and put fuel in it. Now, as for Denny Hamlin, his gas man, Scott Wood, has his helmet and his vest on, and looks like he may be getting ready just in case. And remember, those two cars are from the same team.
I tell you, you're 7 laps short. You can't make that up. I mean, you just can't do it. If their numbers say they're 7 laps short, there's nothing to do but run as hard as you can. Here comes Brad Keselowski. We know his team said he had enough fuel. He can run as hard as he needs to. He might be the one that's sitting in the best position right now.
The one that intrigues me the most is Denny Hamlin. He is charging up and catching Kyle Busch. And if he's, he's one of the championship guys, he can't afford to run out of gas.
Well, if he's that short too, then why not run fast? He's going to make a pit stop regardless. I can run as hard as you can. I mean, there's no reason to try to save fuel now if you know even by saving fuel you're going to be 3 or 4 or 5 laps short.
He's definitely still pouring the fuel on the fire.
That's all they can do. If they can't make it, they just can't make it. One that made a real big mistake was Casey Kane's team. They had made a pit stop where they could make it to the finish. They pitted later than any of these cars. They left the wheel loose and then came back in and left the lug nut on.
Yeah, Casey is now in 16th place, 3 laps down. And that is going to turn out to be what was a good day, turn it into a very bad day where the championship is concerned. So a little fuel drama setting up here at the Monster Mile as we go inside the final 30 laps. And it involves a lot of the guys at the top of the championship standings.
Well, one thing you can see, Brad Keselowski is pushing Jimmy Johnson to probably run faster than he wants to, because Jimmy's team knows that the two can make it, and for them to win, they'll have to stay in front of the two. Looks like Brad's making them use all the fuel that he can make them use.
This is 3rd and 4th place. Kyle Busch, the race leader.
No, I said we either go like that right now, take fuel at the very end when things go, or we finish now and take right sides and gamble on no yellow. Well, I'm driving it now, so figure out what you want. I've gone 5 laps without saving, so there ain't no way we're going to make it. We weren't going to make it anyways, but we were not going to make it.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, we're 7 laps short. You're just not going to make that up.
And when you're behind the wheel of that race car and you're getting these radio communications that just have to frustrate you, it's got to make you crazy.
Yeah, especially when you've had a dominant car all day, you've had things happening to you all year. Yeah, it just makes it even more of a frustrating day already. And I think Denny Hamlin's adopted the same strategy. We're going to pit. We got to go do what we can, run as fast as we possibly can right now.
Here's 3rd place. Keselowski 2, Johnson 48.
Talk about 3rd now as we look ahead. Could be the pass for the lead and the win here eventually.
Yeah, and that's assuming that Jimmy Johnson can't make it. You know, they were short too. They had to go into fuel saving mode.
You know, and this 48 team, it's not been one of their strong suits over the years is getting into fuel mileage races. They tend to lose more than what they win there.
It's obvious that Clint Boyer can't make it. He's in, Jamie.
That's right. They thought he was going to be about 8 laps short. They said go hard, and he said, actually, let's pit now. They took right sides, and they topped it off.
Yeah, if you're going to take tires, might as well pit now and try to use those tires to make some speed.
Worst thing that could possibly happen for Clint Boyer would be for a car caution to come out in these last 24 laps.
Yeah, he's gambling on this thing going green to the end, and he'll go ahead and make that stop now. Like I said, use those tires to make the best lap times he can to the end of the race.
And by the way, the trend at Dover, unlike a lot of racetracks, is for the last green run to be kind of a longer one, 27 laps or more.
It's kind of what surprised me on that last caution that we didn't see more come down pit road and take a chance at that, especially with no more cars on the lead lap than what we had.
There you go, the numbers on the trends here at Dover. So, intrigue, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, 1 and 2. Engines out of the same place. Kyle's going to be short on fuel. Denny appears to have the hammer down still too. Jimmy Johnson in fuel conservation mode. Brad Keselowski, we assume as well. He's dropped back behind Johnson.
Yeah, I'm not sure he didn't accomplish what he wanted to there, though, and that was to go up there, just as you pointed out, Andy, make that 48 run hard for a few laps to try to keep him back there, knowing that he's slow.
Yeah, I don't think that the two-car has anything for Jimmy Johnson. But when Jimmy was saving fuel, I think that as hard as that two-car could push him, they were going to push him and make him use as much fuel as he can.
And while these two guys are pedaling it to save fuel and make it to the finish, just a reminder, Jeff Gordon topped off the fuel on that last caution for Matt Kenseth's spin. And Vince, he's got nothing to lose but put that gas pedal all the way to the floor.
That's exactly right, and they've told Gordon, they're documenting how much he is gaining lap by lap. Alan Gustafson in his ear, giving him his lap times. Gordon hoping, of course, that the others do run out of fuel or have to make that late stop because he has enough, Gustafson tells him, to make it to the end.
There's a couple of other cars, too. Mark Martin, he pitted at lap 318, which is 7 laps later than the leaders. And so did, looks like Mark Truex Jr. when he got that free pass. He made one actually on 319.
Yep.
Like I said, Casey Kane, he was in a great spot. Mistakes knocked him out of it.
Now, for hardcore NASCAR fans, bear with me. I do want to make mention for people that are more casual viewers of the sport, these cars don't have a fuel gauge on them. These calculations are all done based on earlier pit stops in the race. How many miles per gallon your car used on the racetrack.
Yeah, no, it's not like your car that's sitting there going to tell you how many more miles you have before you're going to run out of fuel. It's a very calculated guess that they're making with this.
And they're very accurate. I mean, they'll know exactly, almost to the lap, if they run at a certain pace, this is just how much fuel it's going to use. So, I mean, if the teams have it calculated, they know within a lap or so what it'll go.
I'm telling you, for Kyle Busch, it's win the race or not. He's not in the championship, but for this guy, Denny Hamlin, a late pit stop and the race goes green and Johnson and Keselowski make it to the end, he's probably going to lose maybe 8 positions is all. But still, that's 8 points in the championship. And I say that because they'll just take the splash of fuel, and there are so few cars on the lead lap at this point. The second place car, Dave.
Alan, I asked Darren Grubb, are you going for it? He shook his head no. I also saw Coach Gibbs go up there a few laps later, have a quick conversation. Darian shaking his head in the negative direction. So looking at the lap times as you have, he is running as fast as leader Kyle, his teammate. I believe the 11 will be coming down like everybody else. Doc?
You know, I think Chad Canals normally knows within a lap or a lap and a half how far Jimmy Johnson can go. But I honestly believe right now that Chad is worried and not sure that they can make it all the way. A moment ago, when the 48 went back by the 2, Chad said, no, we're saving. And just now he told Jimmy, you got to back it down more, bud. You got to back it down. I think they're genuinely concerned that they're going to be very close to making it.
And again, run out with a couple of laps to go. It can cost you a lot of ground. Run out with a lap to go. It can cost you maybe 10 spots.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, did he fall for that? Racing that 2-car too hard, and he's going to run himself out of fuel and cost himself a good finish.
Johnson back to 4th. After leading the race and giving up the lead to Kyle Busch with 46 laps to go, when the word came down that they needed to either pit for fuel at the end or go into fuel conservation mode.
And that's really the worst thing as a driver you want to hear. I mean, you don't want to have to do that. But in this situation where the championship could be at stake, you you have to take that opportunity and try to make the most of it, where Kyle Busch is in obviously another opportunity there, even though they're far from being able to make it to the end. They're just hoping that some reason, some debris or something can be found here and they can get a chance for a caution flag. I'll guarantee you he's mentioned some debris around there.
He has. Actually, there was just a call from the NASCAR official in the 18 pit up to the control tower saying 18 reports debris in turn 2.
Yeah. I'd be highly disappointed in him if he didn't see something out there. But, you know, it's rarely as the leader are you going to get anybody looking at it much. Here he comes.
Here he slows. Here's the stop. And Denny Hamlin goes to the lead. So, 10 laps to go. Don't get a pit road speeding penalty here. That'll make a tough situation even worse. I bet he's not there long, Dave.
Their hand is made by circumstance, Alan, and he won't be. Just a splash and go. Teammate Denny Hamlin, you see on the right, also coming down onto the apron. His call is to come in as well. Kyle already leaving. Just enough fuel to get him to the end of the race. Denny now slowly coming down pit road with much grander implications. As you mentioned, losing spots as he has to pit for fuel right now. Chase implications are big. Again, his gas man had his helmet, had his smock on, ready to go over the wall, and now Scott Wood will put in the final drops of fuel that'll get Denny Hamlin to the end of the race. But have they run well enough, and have they put enough cars behind them on the race today to give them the points they need to ultimately win the chase? There goes Denny.
New leader, Brad Keselowski. Jimmy Johnson second, Jeff Gordon third, Mark Martin fourth, Carl Edwards fifth.
Yeah, don't forget about that name you said of Jeff Gordon. He's coming pretty fast as these first two drivers of Keselowski and Johnson are having to save some fuel.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. I thought maybe the 2 car could save a little fuel, but that 24 is coming. Doc?
And they have just told Jimmy Johnson, as you see the 24 now moving in, they've told Jimmy, you're 1 lap short, bud. 1 lap short, really got to back it down. Back it way, way down. So they're worried here in the 48th pit.
Jimmy continuing to try and slow down to save fuel. Jeff Gordon, Mark Martin, both on the charge, 24 and 55. Brad Keselowski, 6 laps away from the checkered flag. Does he have enough fuel to make it?
Does he have enough speed to hold these cars off? That 24 and 00, or 55, I'm sorry, are coming.
Just to mention, Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin are in 7th and 8th, 1 lap down at the moment. There's Kyle right there. Denny's not far behind him.
See Ricky Stenhouse in that picture. He's done a great job there at 13th today.
Yep. And again, we went with this earlier. Caution toward the tail end of the cycle of green flag pit stops knocked us down to just 6 cars on the lead lap early in this race.
Jeff Gordon knocked off 4/10 off the lead of Brad Keselowski.
Yeah, and I think Mark Martin had his progress impeded there by Jimmy Johnson. They ran up into some lap traffic, and then Kyle Busch got there also. So I don't know that he's going to get to the 2, but Jeff Gordon sure could.
4 laps to go.
Last lap, though, Keselowski was able to basically tie Jeff Gordon.
Some lap traffic ahead. And the obstacle of fuel. 3 miles left. What a big day it would be if Jeff Gordon can win. For Brad Keselowski, if they can pull a strategy play on him again and get another victory, it'll be a huge moment. Does Jimmy Johnson have the fuel to make the finish? Both Jimmy Johnson and Kevin Harvick not meeting the minimum speed for the moment you must make. Been told by NASCAR they got to pick it up a little bit.
Wow, they have slowed down.
Coming to the white flag. Gordon with Kyle Busch coming behind him. Will that factor in the Gordon's charge at the finish? 1 lap to go. Does the 2 have enough fuel to make it around this Monster Mile 1 more lap?
Still pulling.
They're going to play play the strategy just right and get another win in 2012. Brad Keselowski wins at Dover.
Unreal. Hell yeah! Great job, guys. Hell yeah! Good job down there, Paul, everybody. Great job, driver. Look at it, yeah! Hell yeah, Paul. Great job, everybody. Good work, bud. Saving us fuel there. It's a great effort. We had a better race car. We had all around good weekend. I appreciate it. No weakness, man. Hell yeah!
Well, not the first time we've seen this by Paul Wolfe and Brad Keselowski and this Penske Racing team.
I don't think you've seen the last of it either.
I'm talking even the strategy play overall.
Yeah.
But their 5th win of the season. And the Star-Spangled Celebration one more time.
I think what makes this team so formidable in this championship battle is they can do it in so many different ways. We saw them at Chicago come out and on the last pit stop blow by the 48 and have the fastest car at the end. Here they played the strategy to perfection once again and what they needed to do.
Yeah, I think they had about the 4th best car here today, maybe not even that, and turned it into a win. That's execution at its best.
They had a good car. They had an excellent strategy. Everything fell their way, and our Goodyear superior performer today is Brad Keselowski, who's burning those Goodyears down in a victory celebration. Another calculated win for Paul Wolfe, Dave.
It was indeed. The laptops were burning up down here, Alan. Paul, how sure were you that you could make it to the end and keep the 24 behind you?
Well, we knew it was going to be close. We knew everybody was kind of in the same boat there. We felt like monitoring what they were doing all day. We were a little bit better than they were on mileage, so we pushed them as hard as we could till we get in front of them, and then we went to 100% save. And obviously, Brad does a great job at that. And there's a lot of cars that were capable of winning today, and we felt like we made some gains with our package here. Hasn't been our strongest track, but everybo's continued to work hard and showing a championship effort right now for sure.
Paul told me this morning, I wouldn't call this a bad track for us. Give us a shot. And they did, man.
Won the race, took the championship lead.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd be showing everybody just how much extra fuel I had right here. This is about his 3rd burnout.
Brad Keselowski, your winner today at Dover. He did not lead the most laps by any means, but he led the ones that counted most, and he picks up his 5th win of 2012. Keselowski taking over the championship lead in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup in the process. Not by much, but by a little. Denny Hamlin wound up finishing in the 8th position today. Jimmie Johnson wound up finishing 4th.
Actually, Jimmie Johnson's team did a good job not to lose any more than that.
As we look ahead to Talladega next week, Jimmie Johnson, the 4th place finisher today, Doc.
And when Jimmy took the checkered flag, Chad said, sorry, man, that was not fun. What goes through your mind when you hear Chad Knaus tell you that you've got to give up the lead and back it way, way, way down to make it?
Well, for starters, we're not very good at fuel mileage races. So when I heard that, I'm like, man, we're in big trouble. And he asked me to start saving fuel, and I doubled the distance out of the gate just to make sure that I did enough to get us to the end. So it's tough. It really is. But, we have a handful of races that come down to it each year, and we've worked to get better at it. And this is like the 2nd of 15 or something that we've attempted to finish, in a low fuel situation and got it done. So I'm improving. We're improving. I wish that, we could have raced for it. We finally got control of the race late. And it just didn't unfold, like a normal race here.
Jimmie Johnson manages to get a 4th place finish out of it, and Allen only 5 points back in 2nd spot.
Well, Jimmy had to give up the lead to save fuel with 46 laps to go. Kyle Busch eventually had to give up the lead to Pitt as well, and that put Brad Keselowski into the winner's circle. We go to victory lane, presented by Tire Racks.
Well, Brad's 9th career win comes at a very opportune time. Describe what it's like to race for the win, but keep your foot off the gas pedal.
Not easy, but you know, the Dodge team, Penske Engines, has done a phenomenal job with these engines and managing the power and fuel bounce. You know, it's a bounce, and then you go faster and you use more fuel. And everybody at Penske Engines, I want to say thank you. I know you guys are watching right now. You're going through kind of hell, but you guys are digging and made this happen today. And I'm just proud of the effort, man. This has been one of our weakest tracks. And we ran up front all day. We might not have been in the lead, but we hung around in that top 5 and just kept creeping around. And when you do that, you put yourself in position for good things to happen. And that's what this team has done for the last few months. And man, if we keep doing this for the next 7 weeks, it's going to be an awesome 7 weeks. So I'm just really, really proud of the effort today, Dover.
Paul mentioned the Dover weakness this morning, but he said, don't count us out here. What's changed, Brad?
I just think we keep getting better, and you know, our pool of stats to pull from is pretty low in retrospect compared to everybody else, so it's going to skew it to the bad side. But you know, my team, we don't look at stats and think that we can't get the job done. We go to the track every week and work our butts off, and everybody in the Miller Lite team does that and find a way to make it happen. That's what great teams do, and I feel like I've got a great team for the chase here, and just so thankful. You know, I'm thankful to win here at Dover. A lot of military folks out here being so close to the Air Force Base. So I want to say thank you to all them that came out today and that are watching and supporting us. And, you know, just everybody makes this possible. This is it's unreal last few months, and just really, really proud. And thanks to Sprint for all your help. Just great, man. I'm excited.
Championship leader by 5 points with that great effort today, AB.
Well, his second win out of 3 in this chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup.
Did we see a guy kind of do that last year? Winning a bunch of these chase races and never win the championship?
And Roger Penske down from the roof with the high five. It's so hard to believe that the captain's never won the NASCAR Sprint Cup championship. But his driver's leading it right now, having won 2 of the first 3 races in the chase. Look at the results from today's AAA 400 at Dover. Jeff Gordon with the hard charge for second, just came up a tick short.
Yeah, Mark Martin with a great run there. Ran well all day. And how about Carl Edwards? A much needed top 5 for that race team.
Yeah, Joey Logano sneaks in there for a top 10.
Kyle Busch came back to finish the first car a lap down. There's Denny Hamlin in 8th. And Mark Martin with a 3rd place finish today, Doc.
And what a run for Mark Martin. People walked up to you just a moment ago, and I'm going to ask you the same question. Where did you come from?
Fast race car, but we started way back in the middle of the pack, and we passed cars and passed cars and passed cars and got just about in the hunt, pitted under the green, and came back out on the racetrack, and the caution came out, and we were 2 laps down, and you know, we just had to fight and battle that. We passed a lot of race cars today. It was an incredible job by Rodney Childers and everybody on the Aaron's Dream Machine. Pit stops are fantastic. Real privilege to drive this car.
It is great to see you climbing out of the race car smiling. It looked like you're having a lot of fun.
It's a real privilege to drive this race car. I love working with this race team. Rodney Childers is way underrated, and you know, I'm just loving being a part of MWR.
Well done, Mark.
Thank you.
Alan?
Jeff Gordon so close, finishes second today, moves up a couple of points in the standings, but as you were chasing down Brad Keselowski there at the end, did you think you were going to get him?
You know, the car was really working well through the middle part of that run, and the race kind of fell in our lap. You know, we fell back on a restart, had some issues just getting going, and then that caution came out. We decided to top off, so it kind of played to our favor, where we didn't have to save fuel, and the car was just really good on that run. But right there, about 15 to go, I started getting really, really tight. So I saw I was catching those guys. I was just hoping that they were going to have to save fuel, and everybody did but the 2. You know, we knew coming in the chase that fuel mileage would be a factor, and we've known that we're behind on that the 2 car. They've got something really figured out on fuel mileage, and credit to them. They've done their homework, and you know, it's gotten them some wins, and it certainly got them one today. But great effort and finished by this Drive to In Hunger Chevrolet, and I want to thank Chase Credit Card Services for all the help that they do, helping the elderly with hunger.
Thanks, Jeff. Another strong showing from the 24 today.
Well, Tony Stewart brings it home 20th today at Dover. Was it as crazy and chaotic from your perspective as it was on the outside as far as track position goes?
I don't know. I mean, we just got caught behind the 8 ball there. I mean, we got a lap down, and you know, the next run we pit, and then we come back out, and 36 car crashes, and like, you know, it just was a domino effect. I mean, every time you try to get a lap back, it'd run all the way to the end, and as soon as we'd pit, the caution would come out again. So I don't know what we got to do to change our luck, but that was just the story of the day for us. I mean, it was the best car I've had here for a long time. We were definitely not the caliber of the 18, the 11, the 48. I have no idea how the running order got where it did at the end, but you know, we didn't have a car for that, but we had a better car than we had been here for a long time.
Well, Dover's in the rearview mirror now. You're still 5th in points, Tony. So looking ahead now, some of the tracks coming up. Are you guys still going to be in this thing?
Until they tell us we're not, we're in it.
With Denny Hamlin now, and Dover supposedly the Achilles heel for Denny in past years. Wasn't the case today. The 11 was very strong. Just not enough fuel there at the end. How would you sum your day?
You know, it's a good day to run the way we did. But frustrating in the end, obviously. You know, it's very similar to Richmond, where you got a car that can contend for a win, and you know, you look at the pylon at the end of the race and you wonder how in the world some of these slow cars beat you. But you know, they just had different strategy, had different fuel mileage, and for us, you know, it was a good day. I mean, going into the day, maybe I would have taken an 8th, but not the way we were running. We were top 3 all day, and obviously ran down the leaders there, and just gosh, it's, you know, we gotta work on the fuel mileage. Obviously, we've got the speed week in, week out to compete and win, and that's all I can ask for. It's just you know, these cautions are flying right at the wrong times. They're flying when some people can make it, some people can't, and obviously we're on the bad side of that. So we're a FedEx Off team. I'm proud of the way they set up the car today. Gave me a car that I could win with, and you know, obviously the result is not what we hoped for, but we're going to move on.
Good run still for Denny Hamlin. Now 3rd in the championship standing, 16 points behind. Let's go to Jamie Little.
Well, Kasey Kahne had a great day going early on, and halfway through, Casey, all of a sudden you have a shake in your car. Did you guys confirm it was indeed a loose wheel?
No, we don't know what it was, but it wasn't halfway through. It was really late in the race. We had just got to 5th and was catching the 2. I had plenty of gas, and you know, so we were sitting in a really good spot. But I don't know. We're not sure what it was yet. They'll have to look. But they told me it was a wheel from what they could see, but it doesn't look like it was. So I think the wheels were probably all fine, and might have just been something broke or something. I don't know, but it's discouraging because we could have gained some good points. We may have been able to just win the race. My car was pretty good, and we'd been behind all day, and we fought back, got the laps back, and we were sitting in a good spot.
Well, you only lost 1 position in the points. Kasey Kahne now 6th. Doc?
And with Martin Truex Jr., Martin, after a great qualifying run, looked like the car was sort of bad at the beginning. What happened early on?
I wish I knew. We're still trying to figure it out. Just not sure if we had a set of tires that didn't agree with the car, or you know, to be honest, we really don't know. We're kind of stumped. You know, after we got that set of tires off, the car was really fast all day long, very competitive, passed a lot of cars. Just you know, got in a bad position there when we had to pit early that first green run and got caught by that caution 2 laps down. So it was frustrating on one hand, but on the other hand, a great battle. You know, great job by the guys to battle back all day, and we fought hard and was able to get back in the lead lap finally and come home with a good finish. So proud of that. The car was really fast. It was definitely better than the 6th place car, but you know, a day like today, we'll take that move on.
Absolutely, Nicole, from 2 laps down to a 6th place finish.
Certainly was an interesting afternoon. Off to the real wild card of this chase. Next weekend in Talladega. Only 7 to go in this chase for the Sprint Cup. We certainly hope that you can join us. In the last 3 weeks, Brad Keselowski has gone on to victory lane 2 times. Maybe not quite the burnout of Denny Hamlin 1 week ago.
That's
but this
a pretty cool burnout. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Brad Keselowski once again in victory lane. 2nd win in the chase, his 5th win of the season. By the way, only one other driver has won 5 times this year, and that is Denny Hamlin. Do we still consider this a good day, Brad, for Denny Hamlin? You said earlier that forget about what anyone else does. This has to be a day where Hamlin saves it.
Oh, I think it's a great day for Denny Hamlin simply because Jimmy Johnson backed up to him as well. If Jimmy had dominated today and won the race and Denny had fallen out of the top 15, it'd be a tough day. He's right where he needs to be, and both of these guys got a tough Brad Keselowski they're going to have to beat.
Brad Keselowski, I know that you had confidence in him before, but is he exceeding expectations right now?
He really is. I do want to remind everybody that Brad picked Brad Keselowski to win.
That's right. 2 weeks in a row.
You did a good job.
Thank you, sir.
But one thing I want to talk about is that Dodge team of Team Penske. I mean, Brad did a heck of a job saving fuel, and Ray Abraham actually brought this up to us a little while ago. That Dodge team of Roger Penske, they don't have any other teams except for Hornish and Keselowski. They have really got this fuel mapping figured out better than anybody. It's got Jeff Gordon scared. It's got the competition scared. They know how to make horsepower and not use much gas, which is it's going to be very, very important in this chase coming down the road. They all know that 2 car gets better fuel mileage than anybody out there. They proved it again today.
Coming into the day, we said a couple of times that this is Separation Sunday. We had a feeling that the haves would separate themselves from the have-nots, both at this track and at the in the chase. Coming into the day, the top 5 in points were separated by 15. Now the top 3 are separated by 16. Indeed, Separation Sunday?
It is. It's separated. It's shown us who's got strength. You've got to have that whole package. You know, we saw mistakes on pit road. We saw good setup. We saw bad setup. We saw fuel mileage. You've got to have the whole package to win the championship. But we've got another, I want maybe not separation, but bring back together race coming up next week at Talladega. So that's why we didn't put a lot of forks in today, because Talladega next week can close this thing right back up.
Well, we saw mistakes by Kane. We saw mistakes by Biffle. We saw mistakes by Kenseth, and they all tumbled today. Dale Earnhardt Jr. had an okay day, but didn't really gain any ground. We're running out of time. The sand is running through the hourglass, baby.
How about Jeff Gordon? Finished second. A solid run, but lost ground in the championship. We'll find out who gets more forks in them next weekend.
Say that one more time. He finished second and he lost points. How do you do that?
That means you're done.
Unbelievable.
Alan, please
that means
take
it's
it away.
all she wrote.
Well, we're not going to stick any forks in quite yet up here. Well, we do have that same thought about Talladega next weekend being the real opportunity for some people to either get back in the championship or those few guys at the top of the stack to really separate themselves from the field. As we look back on these 400 miles at Dover, the one thought that sticks out in your mind the most is what?
I think the biggest thing, even though Kyle Busch dominated this race, it's the run that Denny Hamlin had. I think that speaks volumes for this race team and where they're at and their chances in this championship.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for that performance. It really surprised me. I didn't expect to see him run that good, but he did, and he didn't make up a lot of ground. He didn't lose a lot of ground either. But that 2 car, I told you he was going to have a good race today, probably his best Dover race. I didn't know he was going to do it the way he did it, but he did. They did a great job with that, and they're going to continue to do it through this chase.
By the way, we did hope to have a word with Kyle Busch, but he has left without comment to this point. And what a shame for Kyle. Still came up with that 7th place finish, but had to give up the lead in the end for that splash of fuel, and it just didn't work out. So tough day on the Monster Mile for a lot of drivers and a lot of teams, and for some others who had not performed quite as well here in the past. This 2 car, for example, they really showed some resiliency today and came up with a great result.
Yeah, there are different ways to win, and you have to take advantage of those opportunities when you're not the best car. They had the best car at the end of Chicago. They took advantage of that. Here they weren't the best car and found another way to go to victory lane.
So next weekend, it's on to Talladega and the world's fastest speedway. Our coverage next Sunday, presented by Pennzoil, starts at 1 Eastern Time next week here on ESPN. Race 3 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup, recapped further on SportsCenter. Coming up next, after 400 miles at the tough old Monster Mile, it's Brad Keselowski and Penske Racing celebrating their 2nd win in 3 races in the chase.
Demons, we all got them. Some shut down hope.
Oh, now it's getting real.
Yeah. Some solicit rage.
Yeah, you saw the was loose. I didn't know the right side was. Just calm down, relax, all right?
You see, the demons, they want you to run for cover, make you think you don't measure up. But the truth is, this monster offers salvation.
Brad Keselowski wins at Dover.
This copyright
copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.